All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back again to another episode of your favorite true crime and criminal culture talk show. My name is Brendan.
And I am Malia. Welcome to the show. Every time.
Yeah, what a delay. All right. So, as requested, most of you know, normally when we hop on a show, we stick to a general theme. We follow certain cases as they're coming out. And so many people have been requesting diving back into some of the historical evidence of the Idaho 4 crime. Now, I feel like we cover Idaho 4 a lot. And I feel like I always want to bring attention to other cases. But, you know, with our viewers' interest and the insane jump in subscribers that we've had this past month and a half, 40 days, whatever it is, I figured we could dive back into it. And somebody, one of the thought writers out there asked specifically if we could dive into the Washington warrants.
Okay.
And what's interesting is that's a great ask. I don't think we've ever covered that. I don't think we've ever read through it. We have talked about it. We've talked about the differences between what is read and seen on the Brett Payne PCA versus the Washington warrant. I know we've compared and contrasted a little bit, but I thought it might be a good idea to dive into that, especially since right now, Bryan Kohberger's alibi, which is still a hot topic, which is still being talked about, which is still being dug into, is essentially in the Washington area. You know, so going along the same line of thinking, I just figured, you know, let's dive into the Washington aspects of this case. But go ahead.
Yeah, I have something interesting I want to talk about, kind of going back to when Kohberger was also arrested. Like when he was originally arrested, what his attorney was saying. I saw somebody on Twitter talking about it, and I think it's interesting.
Documents?
No, it's not documents. It's his lawyer's statement.
Okay. I actually have heard a little bit about that lawyer's statement. So the lawyer that he was given in PA. Now I don't know. Was that's
Labar? It was a public defender.
It was a public defender. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's my next question is, was that a public defender or not? Okay. So this show is going to be filled with polls as we're going through topics. I don't want to hold back on any of the historical evidence in the Idaho 4. And part of the reason why I wanted to cover this too is to market, aka highlight all of our past videos into the Idaho 4. We have so many people on here, and that's great. But one of the struggles that come with a whole bunch of new people watching the show is that they weren't there when we had a lot of our past videos come out into some of that evidence. You know what I mean? So in this video, I did tag the Idaho 4 playlist of ours in the description on YouTube. I am also going to post it in the chat here. I am also going to go out of my way to post it on every one of the 8 platforms that we are streaming on right now. So if anybody has interest in any of these videos, look into them, you know, because a lot of people that watch us on here, they're like, well, why do they know that? What is Thought Riot Podcast's backgrounds? Like, who are these two hosts? Why do they know these things? And look, I appreciate all those questions. I would be asking the same question. As soon as I pull somebody up, that's the same thing I'm asking. Who are these two fools? You know what I mean? How do they know these things? Like, what experience do they have that makes them know these things?
None. We're a couple idiots.
Yeah, well, that's a given. But why we're talking about it is our is our past videos into the topics. So we'll just do a quick marketing run through real quick here.
Yeah, we just like true crime, like all of you, and we decided to dedicate ourselves to learning new things. Like that is this endeavor.
Well,
we would like to have a show where we learn with the viewer. And look, we have goals for this channel, and the show is going to evolve. It is not going to be this forever. Like, we definitely want to have experts on. Like, we want to learn. That's the point. It's Thought Riot. The point is learning, thinking outside the box, think tanking things. And Brendan has had some experience, in network technology. So when he talks about that, yeah, he talks about it like he knows what he's talking about. But that doesn't mean that it's a closed conversation. Like, we're here to tell you what to think and that's it. It is supposed to start a conversation. That's the point of the content, is a conversation to be had.
Yes. And just a quick rundown, you guys. We have DNA, alibi, the Brent Kopaka connection. We have the fraternity connection. We have the Idaho 4 animal mutilations. We have lost footage, Jack S., Caden Young, which is another connection to the fraternities. More Kopaka family statements. We dug into at least the food truck footage, the Idaho leak text, the Steve G topics, the Hudson Lindau, which is a historical crime in the Moscow area. We've gone through Kohberger's route. We've touched on splatter evidence. We've gone into cell data, wrong video. We've gone into some of the secret documents and what we think they transcribed to be. IGG experts and their background, time of death, Goncalves interview, security camera hacks. We've dug into the police in the area, IGG disclosures, Idaho 4 police corruption claims locally, which there were some. The facts in the case and the difference between objective facts and subjective facts, which you can see here. Viewer questions, serial killer character connections, Coeur d'Alene connections, Idaho 4 crime scene contaminated, the connection with the incel theory, fog data science, hum science, which I think was a really interesting one, the Papa Rogers connection, 4chan connection, accelerometer. Are you really going to go
through all of this?
Bicka Barlow, the car connection, 113 pieces of evidence, Ann Taylor's background. And I think the rest of it, the 4chan theory, and one of the videos that originally blew us up, which was DNA analysis, cell tower, and the drug theory connection. But yeah, I did want to go through all of it, which I know that's long-winded. I got you guys. But for people that are on other platforms, they aren't on YouTube. They can't just click this link and then check it out. And that's one of the things that we've had quite a few people reach out to us from, because you guys got to remember too, that in the USA, we are .com. Okay. And not every country has the accessibility that a .com has.
Right.
So they're watching us on different platforms. So when people are asking these questions and asking about, any of our interests, connections, research, or anything like that into this case, I wanted to be able to give them a rundown. So yeah, absolutely. But okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Go ahead with what?
You said you wanted to dig into that. That's a good place to start, is in PA, the time of his arrest.
Should we not talk about Sebastian Rogers real quick first?
Yeah, we can do a Sebastian Rogers update. Absolutely.
All right, you guys, there hasn't been a ton of movement, and I'm just going to make this really quick. Okay. I'm going to have Brendan put him up on the screen. Sebastian Rogers is a 15-year-old little boy missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee, reported missing February 26. He was last seen wearing a black long sleeve shirt and Adidas pants, no shoes. And this is what he looks like if you look on the screen. There is a possible recent sighting in North Carolina. There's been a picture circulating online. It has not been confirmed. However, apparently Seth went on T-Rev's channel recently and told him that, and I don't know that he actually went on there. I haven't actually seen it. Look, T-Rev has very long streams. I cannot watch 8 hours.
I know.
I can't. I skim through them sometimes. Sometimes I watch them if I have some time because like he has contact with Seth. And you know, he has some connections. So occasionally I'll go through there to look at that because I mean, he is really good at having connections, you know? He succeeds at that, or excels at that. But apparently, Seth told him that it was confirmed it's not an AI photo. So it's not AI, but there is no confirmation that it's Sebastian. There's no confirmation of anything else. You know, and a lot of people are like T-Rev. I saw he was live earlier and was saying, you know, like this doesn't feel fair that they won't tell him anything. Like, this is his kid. Why won't they tell him that is Sebastian or that isn't? And look, Sebastian could be hot on somebody's trail. Sebastian, law enforcement could be hot on somebody's trail and we could have no idea. Look.
Yeah, let's be real here.
There's a lot of... So
it's not about fair. It's about objective evidence.
And getting Sebastian back. And even though I understand being frustrating and wanting to know, dude, I would be freaking out if it was my kid. I would be such a pain. Trust me. But the thing is I think there's so many agencies like the North Carolina, you know, Bureau of Investigation, TBI, the FBI most likely is taking a look at this considering it's out of Tennessee now. So I think it's in good hands right now. It's not just Sumner County Sheriff's Office anymore.
Yeah.
It's not just a local sheriff's office. We're talking about Bureau of Investigations in multiple states. So I have some confidence and hope that it's being looked into very deeply. And I think that honestly, we'll know something soon. I really think we'll know something soon. But other than that, I wanted to shout out Cluminati. She has developed a relationship with Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot. Her and her fiance have a pretty good relationship with them. And she did an interview really cool. with Chris recently. Well, it was more her fiance talking to him, but he originally called in not as himself. So it's a long time of him not being himself and making funny voices and being joking. But then
like a joke that's being had on both sides, or
I mean, everyone thought it was funny.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't like that weird or anything, but it develops into a conversation that lets you in on a side of Chris that I've never seen before. And I think it helped me bring myself back to neutral a little bit, because I think that I have been really hard on Chris and Katie. I mean, look, I still think there's red flags. I'm not saying there's not red flags, but I don't know. It just helped me see the nuance, see that and trust me, I'm very complicated and all people are very complicated and all people have their issues, but sometimes we lose sight of that. And it helped. And I think it's a really good interview. I posted it on our community tab and shared it.
Oh, here.
So if you guys would like to see it, go check out our community tab or page, and it's shared on there. I think she created an environment where they felt comfortable talking to her and they opened up to her.
That's awesome.
And I think that is awesome. And I think that's incredible work on her part. So shout out to her.
Why is it not pulling up Cluminati's page? That's weird.
That is her.
Yeah, but it's not pulling up her account. Like, it's not giving me the option to click on her account. That's so strange.
That is kind of weird.
Okay, there we go. Okay, I got you.
And I noticed Cluminati's actually showing her face in her videos now, which was fun.
This is Cluminati's channel here, so shout out Cluminati. We appreciate you. I saw somebody asking in here, do we like certain content creators out there? Listen, we haven't said this in a very long time, but we respect and appreciate all content creators, you guys. We are not a part of like a clique that seems like it tends to happen on YouTube. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but we wanted to be able to be a voice, a thinking platform, and a show that appreciates everybody regardless of opinions. Because one of the things that I have seen in the past is that people align that think together. I don't want to fall into that trap myself. I'm not, and I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm not saying it's wrong or anything in between. I personally just don't want to fall into that trap myself.
I agree.
Because of the premise of our show. Now, if we were a different show, like, we are not sleuths, you guys. We are not sleuths. I think Malia is more of a sleuth than I am. I'm not interested in going digging and hunting for evidence. I'm more interested in the social factors and like some of the things that come with hunting, searching for evidence. And the show is more of a think tank. So, you know, we don't align ourselves with certain people out there, but we have love and respect for everybody. Listen, if you're a human being, I love you, appreciate you, and respect you. You know, I am very hippie-ish in that way, where, you know, free love for everybody, because I think as a people, one people, the human race, by sticking together, we're going to grow and we're going to, you know, turn the world into incredible, amazing things. So, yes, if anyone asks me if we like certain content creators, the answer is yes. I see all content creation as an art, you guys. And it's not easy to do. So yes. Thank you for that shout out.
Yes, I think it was a great interview, and like I said, I think it opened my mind a little bit. And not saying that I was like blaming Chris. I just was having a hard time with the red flags I was seeing. And look, I've never thought 100% it was any of the parents, any of them. I see issues, but again, that's like,
it is working.
I have issues. Everybody has issues. This is a human problem. And people can. And this is a tough situation, okay? Their kid is missing. So I want to be understanding at the same time as I'm asking questions. And just because I'm asking questions doesn't mean I think that they're guilty of anything, you know? And I don't want to judge them. I don't want to point blame at them. But I think it was eye-opening. I suggest everyone go watch it.
Yes, absolutely. And just a reminder, everyone, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit those 3 stars. Make sure you hit those 5 stars. Make sure you leave a comment under the video. We appreciate you. And if you appreciate the show, it really helps us get out there and be seen by more people so we can continue to grow. We can continue to cover more topics. We can continue to dig for you, talking, thinking, working with you, because this is a viewer-led show. And the way that we get around the American mainstream media beast and the people trying to hold down our content from being seen is you guys. So we depend on you. You are Thought Riot Podcast. You are the reason we are here, and you are the reason that we are covering the topics that we cover. So just keep doing what you're doing, you guys. We know the good faith people that are out there, and we appreciate you for it. So okay, update on Sebastian Rogers. That's interesting. I haven't watched that yet. I'm interested to look into it. I'm curious how will feel about it, because I tend to be a little bit more critical when it comes to like character, how someone's behaving, than you are normally. So I'm curious how it's gonna make me feel. But Anyways, we'll get into the Idaho 4 topic. Now, let's start.
You want to start with my article?
Yeah, let's start with the article. Is it long? Is it brief? Is it what?
We can just pick out a few parts. I mean, hold on, let me see. Let me look.
Yeah, because
it's
not worth
we're not
digging
reading
into some long article. Just
I don't want
to the statement.
Yeah, I don't want to read it all. But we can put it in the description, you guys. If anybody wants to have or I can post it to Twitter. Shout out to, hold on, let me see their name on Twitter. They're the ones who originally posted this and brought me, Heavenly Stars on Twitter. At Heaven Stars 6. And I found the original article, and this talks about right after Bryan Kohberger was arrested. And I sent it to you on Discord if you want to pull it up, but it's a long crime article entitled Bryan Kohberger initially agreed to speak to law enforcement, then invoked right to counsel. Lawyer, meaning his lawyer said this. So it talks about him being arrested. He requested an attorney and got a public defender. It's talking about how he was arrested and what he's accused of. And Jason LaBar was his public defender, who was a chief public defender for Monroe County, Pennsylvania. He said, Kohberger is calm. He's fully aware. It's obvious he's very intelligent. He already has a master's. It shouldn't shock anyone that he's intelligent. Let's see. He talks about his education. So LaBar told Anjanette Levy that Kohberger
I'm a little curious why he said that, though, because there's this idea out there that intelligence is associated with like book smart. Because somebody's gone to school for 8 years, they're intelligent. And, when it comes down to the objective
you think people
of that
who
situation, I don't always find that true. So I'm curious why he thinks that.
So you think people who have their PhD aren't intelligent?
No, I think that if you look at the definition of intelligence,
some of them couldn't be, I guess.
Intelligence isn't associated with learned knowledge. So it just, I don't want to get into the philosophy of the social definition of intelligence versus the textbook definition. What I'm curious about is why he feels like Bryan Kohberger is intelligent and why it is so assumed intelligent.
I'll read. Yeah, I understand your point. But let's, I guess, read this paragraph for more context. So he's calm. He's fully aware. It's obvious he's very intelligent. He already has a master's. It shouldn't shock anyone. He's intelligent.
Okay.
He says,
schooling. Got it.
And he's talking about Kohberger's state of mind, which I think is important. He's calm and fully aware. He's obviously very intelligent, and talks about his education. He said, so they talk about the brief extradition hearing. Kohberger had just completed his first semester as a PhD student. Yeah, there is not really any context around why he said that.
Sure.
They're quoting this from an interview, I guess.
Okay.
So it says that LaBar told Anjanette Levy that Kohberger spoke with law enforcement for 5 to 15 minutes at the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks following his arrest early last Friday morning. Initially, Kohberger waived his Miranda rights, but then requested an attorney.
Okay.
He waived his Miranda rights.
Yeah.
And was open to talking with police and talked to them.
Interesting. We haven't heard that.
From 5 to 15. This is an old article from January 2023.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a
but it's
great
never
call
talked
out.
about. It's never talked about, you guys. And again, this article, I am going to put it in the description and share it on our Twitter. But yeah, he talked to them from 5 to 15 minutes, waived his Miranda rights, but then requested an attorney. That's very interesting.
Well, actually, if my opinion on that is that he played it very smart. Okay. The only way that you're going to know what you're being charged with a lot of times is
or
by
what they have.
Is by making it seem like you're going to be willing to talk. Right. So anybody that is in sales, anybody that has been a trained investigator, anybody that is trained in in conversation, that is trained in interrogation, that is trained in like sales process, understands that no matter how one person tries to perceive themselves as the dominant one in a conversation, both people have equal opportunity in a conversation. Even if one is acting like they're the dominant one in a conversation, the more submissive person in that conversation has the potential to gain just as much from that conversation that the dominant one does. So if Kohberger intentionally went into this, let's just say he's guilty, okay? If Kohberger went into this thinking, well, I want to know what they have, I want to know what they're charging me with, he would go into it and intentionally fit the role of submissive. That's what I would do. If I was guilty of a crime going in to be interviewed, I would pretend like, oh, you know, I just don't know what's going on. I'm so scared. Help me understand what is this, you know, and just play dumb. So I can sit there as a sponge gathering everything that they know and answering very little. And then as soon as I felt confident in that I knew what direction this was going, I would slam lawyer. Like, okay, understood.
I got
lawyer.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
You
And
know?
Speedy Bird, no, that does, just because he waived his Miranda rights does not mean this wasn't recorded. That has nothing to do with it being recorded. It's pretty standard that they record all interviews nowadays. At least they should be.
Not in Moscow.
Right. They should be. They really should be, especially when interviewing a person arrested for, you know, a quadruple homicide. So anyway, this gets even more interesting, you guys. Like, just wait. This article is crazy, and I've never read this before.
Okay.
So Labar said Kohberger told him that police asked his client if he understood what was going on. And he responded by saying something to the effect of, yes, certainly I'm aware of what's going on. I'm 10 miles away from this. Then Labar said Kohberger invoked his right to counsel and asked for an attorney.
Wait, say that one more time.
So police asked Kohberger,
Yeah. Just
are you
aware?
Are you aware of what's been going on? He said, yes, certainly I'm aware of what's going on. I'm 10 miles away from this. And then he invoked his right to an attorney. So he had been paying attention to this case. And we do know that people in his class at the university where he was a TA did talk about this crime in class. At least that's what they said.
Okay. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 10 miles away from this. I wonder what kind of connection that means, though. And see, this is why I wanted to go back. Because sometimes when you're going back, it helps you understand what you're engaging in the current. Oh, hey, that's awesome. We have Kluminati in the chat here. Hello. We just gave out your links and information because we were talking about the video that you did with the Proudfoots, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so welcome. Super stoked to have you. This is who's in the chat. Everybody who we shared the link for earlier.
Wait, do you have a book, Kluminati? Really? Did you write a book? I don't know. She just said something about a book, but I can't read from that far away. But yes, we shouted out your interview with Chris Proudfoot earlier, and I think that you've created an environment where they feel really comfortable.
No, she's saying that we are above the rest in her book.
Oh, I couldn't read it. It was too small.
That's super funny.
It was too small. I was just like, a book? You know? But yeah, I was giving you some love because I thought that was awesome, and it helped open my mind more, and I don't know, make me feel like there's more nuance here than I was letting myself see. And I think it was really helpful. So, I highly recommend her channel. And her and her fiance are hilarious. And go watch that interview, you guys, if you've been interested in the Sebastian Rogers case.
Absolutely.
I ain't writing no book. I can't. Brendan keeps things like he keeps the chat pretty tiny because he's got other things pulled up. So it's hard for me to read.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get back into this because this is pretty insane. I agree with you, and it gets more insane.
It gets more insane.
Okay, so do we know off the top of our heads how many miles they were away?
Yeah, it's about 10 miles from Pullman to Moscow.
Okay.
So everybody who lives in these towns knows like it's only 10 miles away. It's only a 10-minute ride from Moscow to Pullman. And a lot of people from Pullman drove to Moscow for shopping. They said Kohberger himself apparently said the shopping was better in Moscow.
Okay.
And in Idaho.
Okay.
So
but he went to Clarksville. Gotcha.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that him going to Albertsons could actually be a really normal thing for him potentially. We don't have any evidence to the contrary. We don't know where he went grocery shopping. We don't know if Albertsons had certain types of food that, places in Moscow and Pullman didn't have. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting to consider. Not saying it means he's innocent, but it's interesting to consider.
And I see your question here also, Clue. So how do y'all feel about Bryan since all this is coming out?
Hasn't changed anything for me. It just has confirmed that there's issues with the evidence. But for me, that doesn't tell me if he's guilty or innocent.
Yeah, I feel like so right now I would feel wrong if I made a commitment to his innocence or guilt, because I think that there are enough holes. Okay, like the case. This is how I feel the case is. Those color by numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I feel like this is a giant picture of colored by numbers of a picture of the crime scene or whatever. And then we only have like 1 or 2 numbers to fill in. So we can't see what that picture is. And like last night when we were talking about possible theories where Bryan Kohberger could be guilty, I think some of those could be real. They don't seem very likely, but there's some reason why the prosecution was so confident at one time. And right now they're not. I get it. But they were. So what was that and what could have caused that? I think it's just as likely of Bryan Kohberger's guilt as his innocence. But something that I don't feel like is even a question that can even be talked about is the absolute and total failure of the investigation and the law enforcement involved. And what sucks is that law enforcement failure is not going to give us a clear answer. I'm worried it's not going to give us a clear answer on who's guilty of this crime.
I agree. I'm worried about that too. If he went 12 times in the span of the time he lived there, that literally coincides with him being paid every other week. Good. That's a wonderful point. A wonderful point, Clue. Like, wow, I never thought about that before. You're right. That coincides with how long he's lived there, going shopping just about every other week.
Yeah, it could. And you want to know another interesting piece? And another interesting comment somebody left was that is Wawa Way, because we know there was a massive drug problem there, right? They had 3 months back to back where the feds had the biggest drug busts in all of the history of the Northwest. So we know drugs are a problem there. Are some of these areas that he's going, like Wawa Way Park, known pickup spots?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not sure. But
people
it's
really don't
interesting
like
idea.
when we suggest that he relapse. People don't like when we talk about that.
I understand that, but we have no evidence that he relapsed or not, other than the 3 blood dots. The 3 blood dots.
The 3 blood dots could be a few things. Okay, it could be he cut himself shaving, or it could be
3 different spots though.
But
that's kind of strange.
Look. If you guys have never seen what it looks like when somebody is a needle user,
yeah,
there's blood spots.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
There's blood spots.
When somebody's a drug addict and they're using a needle, there's no way not to have blood spots on wherever they set that. And I don't want to get into all those details on here or anything like that.
No.
But I just want to be very transparent with all of our viewers on what those blood spots made me think. Because when you look at the evidence in his apartment, they say that there were 3 blood spots in 3 different places, and they were all determined to be his blood. Well, in my own personal experience, if you walk in my apartment, you're not going to find blood spots in 3 places, but I'm also not a drug addict. So
you know what I just remembered?
Is it possible that he relapsed? I don't know. I think
I
these
don't
are
know
very
either.
good think tank possibilities, but we won't know until evidence.
Yeah, I agree.
Until more color by
we
numbers.
need way more. And one thing I think that goes against him relapsing is the fact that he was going for his PhD. It would be really hard.
Man.
It looked like, but
he would be one of the first drug addicts ever not to relapse.
What? No, I mean, he could have. I mean, look, it seemed like it was a very short stint of that type of addiction for him, but it seems like he went really hard into it.
Well,
so he doesn't.
A needle user.
He seems like he's an all or nothing type person. Like, I'm going all the way, or I'm not going. Okay, I'm not going unless it's all the way. So it makes me think that if he had relapsed, we would have seen a lot more issues in his life at the time of this. Okay, I think we would have seen things going plummeting. Yeah. Now, some people have argued things were plummeting, and that's why he did this crime with the whole TA thing and the issues at the university. I don't know that that's enough. I don't know that's enough. He could just have an awkward personality. I think that he would have had a lot of issues making it to class. I think he would have had a lot of issues literally just doing anything. Just being responsible,
just being.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that is hard for me with the idea of him relapsing. It seemed like he was responsible. It seemed like he was on it. It seemed like, I mean, a PhD, that's no easy feat. Okay, he already had a master's. What?
It makes me nervous, this idea that because somebody's going for a PhD or a bachelor's, listen, when
PhD is much more than a bachelor's.
I meant master's. But you're right. So when I was younger and partying with people, listen, I partied with bikers before that were literal doctors.
Okay.
And using.
Like doctors with a PhD, or
like
just
doctors with a PhD. Yes.
Okay.
And chemists with, PhD level chemists that are part of that crime and users, and think like education does not deter people from addiction.
I understand that. Absolutely. Like dude, you know how many people I've met that had it all? Like I not even kidding, had it all and were never addicts. And then literally in their 30s, their whole life tanked, addict, lost their kids, lost their house, lost all their money. I've seen it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Like, I've known at least 3 people that's happened to in my life.
That's wild stuff. That is wild stuff for sure.
Addiction does not spare anybody. It could happen to anyone. All right. Anyway, let's get back into this article. So it talks about them seizing his vehicle. And again, you guys, we're reading from a long crime article from January 2023, right after Bryan Kohberger's arrest. We're going back in this episode of the True Crime Talk Show to kind of the beginning, at least right after he was arrested. So they talk about seizing his vehicle. Let's see. That's not that important. Kohberger arrived in Pennsylvania. I just don't want to miss anything. His father flew to Washington to make the drive back with his son. We know that. Father and son left Pullman sometime between December 13th and December 16th in an effort to beat the incoming snowstorm. Bryan isn't denying he was in Pullman through mid-December, Labar said. He also said he assumes law enforcement has his GPS data available through his phone.
Wait, say that one more time.
That's what I'm saying. This gets way crazier.
Say that one more time.
All right.
Just the last part.
He also said he assumes law enforcement has his GPS data available through his mobile phone. Now, hold on. Let's hold on. Let me repeat the whole statement again. So they talk about them trying to beat the snowstorm. And then he says, Bryan isn't denying he was in Pullman through mid-December. He also said he assumes law enforcement has his GPS data available through his mobile phone.
Say that one more time. So Bryan Kohberger says that he believes that they have his GPS data through his phone.
So they have access to his phone.
Yeah, that's not what I think he's saying there. This is right when he got arrested. So I don't think that he's saying that. I think that he is making the connection of, hey, how did they pick me up for this crime? There's only one of two things here. Either A, he's guilty and he realized where he messed up in this thing, or B, he's trying to make the connections using his own experience as an investigator and law enforcement officer. And he's, with his specialty being cloud forensics, has determined that, hey, they think that I could be the guy because of my phone.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive deal.
Wait.
That is huge.
Wait, they could think I'm the guy because of my phone?
Yes, absolutely. Why are you thinking not? You got to remember, you can't automatically go to this idea that law enforcement have access to his phone. Bryan Kohberger knows cloud data. He is trained in cloud data, and it's not a secret that if you put a 6-digit pin on your iPhone, no law enforcement can get in ever, period. It doesn't matter what kind of software they have. It is locked tight. So I don't think he's talking about his phone itself. I think that he's talking about they have his GPS data, his background data of his device. That's what I think. Because again, you would assume that Bryan Kohberger would at least have some knowledge of networks like I do.
Yeah, he has to.
Some, at least, maybe not as much in certain areas that I do, and then he might have more knowledge in other areas than I do.
Yep.
But if I'm thinking that, then he's got to be thinking that 100%. That's too obvious to think, well, I gave him my phone, you know?
Yeah. So, all right, let's move on a little bit. So it mentions Kohberger's family statement. Does anyone want me to read his family statement?
Yeah, just whatever they say.
So they said, first and foremost, we care deeply for the 4 families who have lost their precious children. There are no words that can adequately express the sadness we feel, and we pray each day for them. We will continue to let the legal process unfold, and as a family, we will love and support our son and brother. We have fully cooperated with law enforcement agencies in an attempt to seek the truth and promote his presumption of innocence rather than judge unknown facts and make erroneous assumptions. Kohberger's parents cannot afford a lawyer for him, so he will have to have a public defender in Idaho, Labar said. Little is known about Kohberger, but former classmates have come forward to share their recollections of him. That's interesting. So his parents would have bought him a lawyer, but they couldn't afford it.
Yep.
That shows more support than what
mainstream media has suggested he has been given.
The character assassination campaign keeps pointing at his family as being suspicious of him and not supporting him.
And one other thing that I want to point out is exactly what somebody brought up here, is that Bryan Kohberger, through mainstream media and other sources online, has been rumored to have an Android. Okay, now this is why I say that's weird, that's strange, is we looked at every single one of his family members, and every single one of his family members have an iPhone.
Wasn't when he was pulled over in that body cam footage, he picked up his phone and it looked like an iPhone?
No, his father's phone was sitting on his leg, unless that's Kohberger's phone, and that phone is plugged into either a charger or the car. But his family members all had iPhones. So he would be the only one in his family that didn't have an iPhone. Now, is that possible? Absolutely, that's possible, because he had his own account that wasn't tied to anybody else. But yeah. But yeah, I'm just more inclined to believe that he has an iPhone, because assuming his family members have iPhones, that then that's what he would grow up with, because there's a point in time where your family's buying your phones for you, right? And we know he stole his sister's iPhone. So more than likely he grew up with an iPhone. So I would assume that he had an iPhone. And I've always wondered if that's a little bit of information that they don't want people to have, is like what type of phone he had, you know?
Yeah. So here, are you looking for something?
Yeah. What do you need?
I just wanted to talk about that comment. So Truth Nation has a channel, and Willie apparently knew Kohberger. I haven't watched too much of your channel, but he mentioned, I can't read it because you have it. So he only did drugs for a couple years and got clean, got his PhD. I'm assuming you mean master's, because he didn't have his PhD yet. Had a job, apartment, car, had it all to just take 4 random lives. Come on.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I absolutely see what you're saying. But the only reason that argument doesn't mean too much to me is because look at BTK.
Yeah.
Look at John Gacy. Look at all the serial killers who had lives, like families.
Bundy.
You know, they had things going for them in life, but they had these urges. So, and I'm not saying that's Kohberger. Look, sometimes I go back and forth, but I mostly lean with this doesn't make sense. This narrative doesn't make sense. I don't
lean anywhere.
I mean, I lean that it doesn't make sense. And that,
but I just don't lean to his innocence or guilt. I refuse to. I absolutely vehemently refuse to lean into his innocence or guilt till I have the whole story.
I refuse to as well until I have evidence. But if the prosecution is going to make a real case here, what's in that PCA is trash. Like they can't come with that. That's trash. I think we can all agree on that by now, that narrative isn't going to fly. No. It's not enough. There is no way this guy went in that house and did this and walked out without anything on him and got in a car and sped away and didn't track anything anywhere.
Yeah. The current PCA is...
That is trash.
A big old, you know, silver platter, elephant-sized pile of doo-doo.
But thank you, Willie, for being here, and everybody check out his channel. Shout out to him. Yeah. I'm going to have to go watch more of you very soon, but we're glad you're here.
Yeah. And we say this all the time, Thought Rioters. We don't want an echo chamber here. I do not want somebody in. We don't want only people that think like us. Okay. And like I said, I absolutely, totally refuse to commit to whether I think Bryan Kohberger is innocent or Bryan Kohberger is guilty because of my explanation I gave earlier. You're asking me to look at a paint by numbers, but without having any of the numbers painted. I have no idea. I just have no idea. I'm better off rolling dice and guessing what number it's going to land on than telling you whether he's innocent or guilty. I don't know. I don't know him. I wasn't there that night. I don't have the full picture. I don't have anything. Nothing.
Right.
You know, all I know is law enforcement's full of it in certain areas in this PCA. That's something I do know. Now, did they do that because they felt like their investigation wasn't good enough to convict Bryan Kohberger, and they knew 100% without a doubt through illegal means that Bryan Kohberger is the guy? I don't know. Did they feel the heat during the investigation, and you know, Bryan Kohberger just seemed like the most likely suspect and they just commit to it and ran? I don't know. I just don't know. I want to know. I'm dying to know. But I need more information.
Yeah. Somebody, Boone's Farm just said you're getting up. Boone's Farm just said that you're getting upset about painting by numbers.
I am. It's frustrating, okay?
It's frustrating.
Asking me what a picture is without giving me enough numbers painted. Gosh.
Well, I loved paint by numbers when I was a kid.
I mean, if you want to know the truth, I've never done one. I have ADHD, you guys.
Hold on.
You think I can sit and do a paint by numbers? Oh, man. Whew. That's a tough one. That's probably like at least on the top 10 for toughest things to get Brendan to-do list.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that. All right. So what's next in this article? Let's see. That's not it. Okay. So yep.
I have an awesome video idea that I need to write down. Sorry, go ahead.
You should write it down. So it talks about a man who attended DeSales University in Pennsylvania, Kohberger, during their undergraduate studies, recalled a tall, awkward student who often spoke over professors in a superior manner. Oh my gosh. Words can't really describe my shock. It's pretty surreal, the man said. He added that he noticed a slight change in Kohberger's appearance from the undergraduate years. He definitely looks sort of gaunt and emaciated at this point. A little older.
Wait, what?
He did not look emaciated.
No, he is big. He's big. Bryan Kohberger's a big dude, not like heavy, but I mean, he's jacked. He has some muscle mass.
Yeah, he's fit, dude.
Yeah.
He works out like hard. Okay. Yeah. You can tell.
He's got that 3-finger hang.
Yeah, I don't know. That's weird. So this is going into stuff I don't even want to entertain, honestly, about him being an outcast and everything. Because it's all very subjective. It's all very biased, honestly. It doesn't.
Yeah, that's okay though.
So, but I want to talk about
anything that's not biased right
now. So I guess Kohberger was the kind of guy who pointed out flaws in what professors were saying.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, it does. All right. I don't care about the classes very much. I just wanted the lawyer's statement. Is that the end of it? I think that is the end of it. But because it's all just about his time in school. But again, this article will be shared in the description, you guys, so that you can check it out later and read through it yourself. But I thought that was very interesting that Kohberger, and we also know that his lawyer said he would be exonerated. That he knew he would be exonerated.
Wow.
And he also said he knew the cops had his GPS data from his phone. That is bombshell, in my opinion.
Yeah, and another example, another piece of evidence is that if you hand somebody your phone, that doesn't give them GPS data, by the way.
Okay.
So, like, I just don't think it's that. I don't think the cops have access to
the Google warrants, then probably, or something like that. Yeah, either
the Google warrants or the background application warrants, like Spotify, or any of the others, like what's the dating app?
Tinder. Oh, okay. That tracks you for sure.
Yeah, Tinder tells you when somebody's close to you, so it knows where you're at least in the general basis. You know, if you're looking for that 5-minute walk hookup, like Tinder's got you, you know?
Yep. Exactly.
Yep.
So, have you ever watched one of the interviews that his lawyer did? Like, have you ever watched that public defender from Pennsylvania speak, Brendan?
No.
Would you like to see his statement that he did on the Today Show?
Yep.
Okay, I'll send it to you. And then we can move on to what you were planning on talking about. Yeah, he had a health app, Denise. He absolutely did. He had Strava and he had All Trails for finding hiking trails. I know a lot of people were saying, why would he have both of those? Well, because All Trails finds trails. Strava records your runs. It's different.
Whoa. Okay. Strange. Hang on here.
What?
Let me see if I can get this to a size I can. So
Yeah.
that's him.
Yeah, it's kind of it's awkward how they do it. You can't full screen it. It won't let you.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
there we go.
Okay. I got you. Hang on.
Talked to him or tried to tell Labar is the public defender representing Bryan Kohberger at today's hearing. He has visited his client 4 times since his arrest. Mr. Labar, good morning to you. You have a busy day ahead of you. First of all, just quickly, what do you expect to happen today at the hearing?
I expect Bryan to be brought into courtroom 1, and he's likely to sign the extradition paperwork.
And you've visited with him several times. You've made a point to say you have not talked to him or tried to talk to him about the substance of the charges against him. What has his demeanor been like? What has his mood? What have you observed from those multiple interactions in the last few days?
He's being very calm. He's very aware. He understands the proceedings. I did discuss with him what to expect in the upcoming days on his transport, as well as what to expect when he actually returns to Idaho and is likely in front of a magistrate or a judge there.
I recognize you're being careful because you're handling this procedural matter. You're not the person who will be defending him at trial, presumably. But has he reacted to the charges at all? One can imagine being accused of something like this and saying, wait, where did this come from? Why are they coming after me? Have you seen any kind of that behavior from him?
It is a little out of character. He said, I mean, this is not him. He believes he's going to be exonerated. That's what he believes. Those were his words. So he's really been very easy to talk to, actually. And he's in a calm demeanor, like I stated.
What about his family? The mother, father, the sister, they put out a statement. What do they say about the charges against him and how what they make of this in terms of the person that they know?
They don't believe it to be Bryan. They can't believe this. They're obviously shocked. This is certainly completely out of character. The allegations, and really they're just trying to be supportive with the understanding these 4 families have suffered loss, so that they're sympathetic towards that, and that's why it should remain really private, and they don't want to try this case in the court of public opinion, and without knowing the facts and evidence as of right now, they don't really want to comment on things.
His father drove him from Washington State at the holidays back to Pennsylvania. I understand that was a plan that had been in the works for some time. They were also stopped by police a couple of times on the way, I think, for minor traffic violations. Do you believe that to be part of this larger investigation, or is that just a random coincidence?
I believe it to be a random coincidence. I don't disbelieve that Bryan and Michael Kohberger would have made that story up. There's no reason. They have been fully cooperative when they did speak with police and authorities. I know there's some reports that there's no actual evidence that they were stopped in Indiana, but Mr. Kohberger, Michael, had definitely said that they were stopped twice in Indiana back to back.
All right, Jason Labar, I know it's a busy day before you. Thank you for being with us this morning. Appreciate it.
Okay, interesting. And it looks like Cluminati had to head on out. So thank you for hanging out with us, you guys. Make sure you guys check her content out. But yeah, for the context on that video, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, he says, what do you think about him being calm throughout the whole process?
Yeah,
what do you think about it?
I don't think anything. I think that is a.
Do you think you would be calm?
Yes, I think that is a horrible mischaracterization of the mainstream media, making it seem like this man needs to be acting chaotic and screaming, "I'm innocent," and showing a whole bunch of emotion. Dude, get out of here. That is definitely a way to have people see you as a psycho.
Well, there's some people who will get angry and will, you know, act a fool when they're innocent. But I think that there's people who won't. And I do think Brendan is one who wouldn't act like that. I think he would honestly be doing exactly what Kohberger's doing. I think he would be sitting there quiet. I think he would be listening to his lawyers. And I think he would be calm. You know, to get Brendan to freak out, you literally can't get Brendan to freak out. It's like, you know, he's that's just how he is. So look, I don't know. For me, I know all people handle things differently, and it can be so drastically different, and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean he's guilty. It doesn't mean he's not. Is it like, wow, that's interesting that he's so calm? Because I wouldn't be. But just because I wouldn't be doesn't mean that it means anything.
Mm-hmm.
It could mean things
all
about
it will do is hurt you.
Right. Yeah.
All it will do is hurt you. So I just don't see any benefit in it. But I love that you went over that, because I didn't know that. I had no idea about any of that. So he is very aware of the phone evidence. He is very aware of the data and details and everything that he's having to deal with right now. So it's super interesting. It's really interesting that the mainstream media narrative does not want us knowing about that. That's one of the things that I have been I've been wondering about, is if one of the things I've been wondering about, if they've been trying to control the narrative, not to let people know that Bryan Kohberger is up on his technology, you know?
Right. And hey, AR Hayes,
gosh, I'm really
much
surprised.
respect back to you. Check out his content if you guys haven't. And you're one person I'd love to ask the question of, like, does yelling and screaming about your innocence do anything? Like, you know, because he's seen people go through the system lots of times. Like, the people yelling and screaming they're innocent, how does that work out for them?
Yeah. I'm really surprised. Like, I thought, so when we're covering Idaho 4, the only platform that has like a couple more viewers is YouTube. All the other platforms don't. That's interesting. But I was curious if we were going to see like a larger boost of people on the other platforms. Interesting. So, okay, let's get into the Washington PCA, the Washington arrest warrant, not arrest warrant, but search warrants, and go through that.
Yeah.
Do you have that?
Oh, you need me to send it to you?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hold on, I'm not very organized. Okay, here it is. I think I have it right here. Yes, this is it.
So we got 400.
Is this like a drag and drop? Yes, it does.
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, it's really interesting that that going back.
There we go.
Going back helps you see some of the current information that we're looking at right now in a new light, you know?
Yeah. I agree. I thought it was really interesting looking back at the lawyer's statements when he was arrested and seeing that he knew about the cell phone data, like from the very beginning. He's like, they must have my GPS data from my phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I don't know, like that's interesting. And that goes to show that he knows what's up with the cell phone data. Like he knows he went to school for this. Like he knows what they can find out.
Yeah.
And for him to still fight it and say I'm innocent, I don't know. I think that means something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it means something. That means something for sure.
So you have it pulled up?
No, I'm trying. Hang on. Where did it go? Oh, okay. Wrong screen. Okay. I also have a few questions too that people have had, but this document is pretty substantial here. Okay, so let's see here. All right. Wait, isn't this the document that has like multiple different?
Multiple what?
Yeah, okay, it is. Hang on. Do you know which one in these is the warrant? Blakers?
Hmm?
Do you know which one of these?
What? Just scroll through it.
It's 50 pages.
I get it, but you're not going to get to it unless you scroll. Like, you want me to tell you the page number?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't just know the page number off the top of my head, but it's not very far into the
I
document.
gotta use the restroom real quick.
I have to do something. I just had to put somebody in timeout, you guys, so. If you say anything negative and rude again, then you'll just be banned. We tolerate a lot here. There's no need to be nasty. All right. Let's see. I mean, it just sounds like you're a misogynist, actually, so I'm just going to ban you. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. All right. So Brendan wanted to go back and look at this affidavit of Dustin Blaker because we got several viewer requests to take a look at this because it contains details that aren't in the Brett Payne affidavit. And we've went into like a couple pieces in the past where like about the I don't know if I should say, I guess, okay, I'll say it. Blood spatter. That was a really interesting part of this that was sent to us by a viewer. But I think he's right. I don't think we've read through the entire thing yet. So he didn't tell me if he wanted to literally read through it all. So I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I guess we'll just read the first page until he gets back. So the below information is provided by Sergeant Dustin Blaker. I'm a duly appointed qualified and acting peace officer with the County of Latah, State of Idaho. I'm employed by Moscow Police Department in the official capacity or position of sergeant, and I have been a trained and qualified peace officer for approximately 22 years. Why wasn't he made the lead homicide investigator? I attended the Idaho Peace Officers Academy from January 2000 to March 2000, and then completed a 16-week field training program where I was released in July of 2000. During my 16 years of law enforcement. I have attended additional training to include basic narcotics training, which trained me in handling high-level cases. Interesting. Then why weren't you the lead investigator? I have conducted many search warrants, and I have assisted with previous homicide investigations while at the Moscow Police Department. Again, if he's been a part of other homicide investigations, he has 22 years under his belt and high-level investigations, then why was Payne the lead investigator? I would really like to know that. It just doesn't make sense. Like, at all. I am being assisted by other officers of the Moscow Police Department, members of the Idaho State Police, and agents of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. On November 13th, 2022, at approximately 4 p.m., Moscow Police Department Corporal Brett Payne and I responded to 1122 King Road, Moscow, Idaho, hereafter the King Road residence, to assist with some security and processing of crime scene associated with 4 homicides. Upon our arrival, the Idaho State Police forensic team was on scene and was preparing to begin processing the scene. MPD Officer Smith, one of the initial responding officers to the incident, advised he would walk me through the scene. And this is, you guys, this is one of the first parts coming up that I think has concerned a lot of people who have been reading, who have read both, is how they both get to, him and Payne get to the crime scene 4 hours after. And remember, Payne was the lead investigator. He gets there 4 hours after 911 is called, and that's a total of 12 hours since the homicides occurred. So Officer Smith and I entered the King Road residence. Interesting, he didn't say Smith and him and Payne, because that's what I think. Like, if they both got there at the same time and were both walked through the scene by Officer Smith, then wouldn't you think they would have all just done it together? And their accounts are so similar and identical that it's you could assume it was done together. The reason I was focusing on this was I had to ban somebody who was being very, very, very rude. So,
okay,
just letting you know. So him and Officer Smith entered the home through the bottom floor door on the north side of the building. Officer Smith and I then walked upstairs to the second floor. Officer Smith directed me down the hallway to the west bedroom on the second floor, where I later learned through Xana's driver's license and other personal belongings found in the room was XanaKernodle, hereafter Kernodle room. Kernodle's room. Okay. Just before this room, there was a bathroom on the south wall of the hallway. As I approached the room, why does the bathroom door being there matter? Why did he mention that, do you think? Yeah, guys, don't worry about me. Somebody could come in here and be so nasty like that and to be talking such vile things to me. And don't worry, I'm okay. I'm confident in myself. Nobody can hurt me like that. They're just words. But I understand that nobody's going to want to hear that. It's so negative. It's so rude. But yeah, so they're banned. So, but thank you for caring. I know everybody was like yelling at me to do something. Okay. That's just how the internet is, you guys. People are just terrible sometimes. They're just little keyboard warriors, you know?
Yeah.
So I wonder why the bathroom being mentioned there matters. You know what I mean? Like, they don't say anything noteworthy. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to touch that one. They didn't say anything that's noteworthy about the bathroom. They just mentioned the bathroom is there on that wall. Why?
Yeah.
Why does that matter? He didn't say, well, I passed through a kitchen or I walked up the stairs and it was to my right. Like, he didn't mention anything about doors anywhere else or areas of the house anywhere else. So why is he mentioning the bathroom?
Just before this room, there was a bathroom door on the south wall of the hallway. Maybe he's just describing the location. I don't know. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon. Okay.
Okay,
That means there was some serious slashing. If he could tell in that moment that it was a sharp-edged weapon. However, this could also have been edited after they had done more investigating. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So did you want to read through this all?
Somebody wanted us to. How many pages is it?
It's about the same as Payne's, I think.
Okay. I mean, we can read. Where are you at? On page
just
2?
At the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay, so
also in the room was a male later identified.
We didn't finish reading that top paragraph. As I approached the room, I could see a body later identified as Kernodle's laying on the floor. Kernodle was deceased with wounds which appeared to have been caused by an edged weapon.
Also in the room was a male later identified as Ethan Chapin. Here after Chapin was also deceased with wounds later determined. Autopsy report provided by Spokane County Medical Examiner Vina Singh, dated December 15th, 2022, to be caused by sharp force injuries.
You know what's kind of weird to me?
Whoa, so a whole month?
Well, that's why people say that. That's what I wanted to bring up. So you might be wondering why Ethan's was done a whole month later. Okay. Why we had
month.
Right. So there's supposedly Ethan had 2 autopsy.
Okay.
That's autopsies. That's what's been talked about. Now, I honestly don't know where that all came from other than the fact that that date seems so late, but it's also kind of odd that they just said Xana appeared to have wounds caused by an edged weapon, but didn't cite her autopsy report. But then they mention Ethan and cite his. Why?
Yeah.
And also that date. Yeah, it's a long time. That's a long time after. Like I mean,
a whole month.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes it takes the final report a while to come out. It does, especially toxicology.
Here, you want to do a poll on this topic while I read?
Okay, I don't necessarily think the date means that's the day it happened. But I don't know. I'm no expert in it.
All right, so I then followed OFC Smith upstairs to the 3rd floor of the residence. The 3rd floor consisted of 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The bedroom on the west side of the floor was later determined to be Kaylee Goncalves, hereafter Goncalves' room. I later learned from review of Officer Nuna's body cam, there was a dog in the room when police officers initially responded. So the dog was in the room?
Yeah, they apparently took the dog. They didn't test the dog at all. They just took him to a shelter right away.
Yeah.
And didn't do any forensic testing, which is kind of insane to me.
Okay, you're gonna do it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you're talking about is that video that we covered that's highlighted lost footage. And man, that video is messed with a lot, you guys. Like a lot. I think that video was messed with externally, trying to control like the views of that video and everything more than any other video we've put out, which is super interesting. So if you guys look for that in the Idaho 4, I mean, you could ask about the dog, you can ask anything. So if you guys haven't seen that, the one that says lost footage, you should check it out because it talks about how a dog was found on the scene. And a lot of people have theorized whether the dog was in a different room, was just free out in the house, or was it in the room? And in this statement, it says that it was in the room. So that's very interesting, especially since they didn't take the dog to gather any evidence off of it. None. They took it to a shelter. Once it's cross-contaminated like that, that's it. There's nothing you can do about going back to try and fix that. Which that's interesting. See, I knew I needed to read this again for sure. it helps me understand when I'm looking at the conclusion of, you know, any hearing, any updates, any new information. I later learned that review of the Officer Nunes body cam, there was a dog in the room when Moscow police officers initially responded. The dog belonged to Goncalves and her ex-boyfriend, Jack DeCour. I found out from Corporal Payne's interview with Jack DeCour on November 13th, 2022, that he and Goncalves shared the dog. OFC Smith then pointed out a small bathroom on the east side of the 3rd floor. This bathroom shared a wall with Madison Mogen's, hereafter Mogen's, bedroom, which was situated on the southeast corner of the 3rd floor. As I entered this bedroom, I could see the 2 females in the single bed in the room. Both Goncalves and Mogen were deceased with visible stab wounds. I was later advised by ISP investigators they located a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogen's right side when viewed from the door. The sheath was later processed and had a K-bar, USMC, and United States Marine Corps Eagle Globe and anchor insignia stamped on the outside of it. The Idaho State Lab later located a single source of male DNA left on the button snap of the knife sheath.
Okay, so go back up.
What?
This part is one of the most problematic for me with the knife sheath.
Okay.
So as I entered the bedroom, I could see 2 females in the bed. Okay, both Goncalves and Mogen were deceased with visible stab wounds. I was later advised by Idaho State Police investigators that they located a tan leather knife sheath laying on the bed next to Mogen's right side. Not that Payne did.
Yeah.
And I really believe, considering that Blaker and Payne, according to their affidavits, appeared to have gotten there at the same time.
Yeah.
4 hours after 911 was called and were walked through the scene by the same officer, Officer Smith. I think it's very likely that they walked through it together.
And
for Payne to say sometime later he found the knife sheath, and for Blaker to say sometime later he was advised by ISP that they found it, bizarre. Makes no sense. There better be body cam footage of this, because this is shady. This sounds so shady.
I agree with you. I think it is very shady.
It's very important that this part be accurate.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is one of the things that make you question it, because again, you know, look, with the uncertainty around the knife sheath, to pretend like the argument out there in the true crime community, so the people that think that Bryan Kohberger is innocent have a very big issue with the knife sheath. And I understand why they do, because a lot of these reports aren't adding up. How it was found is not adding up. Who found it is not adding up. Any of these things that we're seeing are not adding up, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand it. I'm not going to pretend like I don't see the connections for people that think that Bryan Kohberger is being railroaded. You know, I get it. I see it. 1 + 1 = 2.
Yep.
As part of the investigation, numerous interviews were conducted by Moscow Police Department officers, Idaho State Police detectives, and FBI agents. 2 of the interviews included BF, we know who that is, DM. Both BF and DM were inside the King Road residence at the time of the homicides and were roommates to the victims. BF's bedroom was located on the east side of the 1st floor of the King Road residence. Based on numerous interviews conducted by MPD officers, ISP officers, and FBI agents, as well as my review of evidence, I have learned the following. On the evening of November 12th, 2022, Chapin and Kernodle are seen by BF at the Sigma Chi house on the University of Idaho campus at 735 Nez Pierce from approximately 9 p.m. BF also stated that Chapin did not, from approximately 9 p.m. period. Okay. BF also stated that Chapin did not live in the King Road residence, but was a guest of Kernodle's. Goncalves and Mogen were at a local bar in the Corner Club at 202 North Main Street in Moscow. Goncalves and Mogen can be seen on video footage provided by the Corner Club between 10 p.m. on November 12th and 1:30 a.m. on November 13th.
Don't you think this is another concern I have with the affidavits is the fact that, and I think all of us know this, but just for anybody, like, since we're talking about this and going back to the beginning, if there's anybody who starts following the case now or recently did and is just tuning in, like, this is another major issue with the PCA is that, you know, Ethan and Xana were, Chapin and Kernodle were seen by Bethany, oh my gosh, Bethany Funk at the Sigma Chi house, which is Ethan's fraternity, at a party. And it's been said by, you know, Xana's dad and mom that there was a fight that night, or at least Xana's mom said the dad told her that he talked to her on the phone. And, you know, there's been statements, okay, that a fight happened that night. There's also 4chan posts saying a fight happened that night. But yet, it is so vague in the PCA of what happened that night, where they were. It's so vague.
I agree with you.
It's so detailed when it comes to Kaylee Goncalves and Madison Mogen. So detailed. But when it's anything about Ethan and Xana, it is incredibly vague, which has made us raise an eyebrow even more with the 4chan theory. Like, why are they being vague about this fight and the fraternity and all of that?
Yeah. Why are they?
Why didn't they mention, well, they were partying at this home, they got into a fight and walked home and were home at this time?
Yeah. And I
and
think
Bethany stayed at the, you know what I mean? Like, why is it so vague?
I do know what you mean. And I think that a lot of people look at that situation, again, similar to like the whole knife sheath ordeal, and start to feel like there's some kind of weird conspiracy or something's going on here. When, in my opinion, I see enough, I guess I would say, flailing from law enforcement, from university employees, and everyone in between that are locals, that I think that this accidentally got placed together in this way. So like I probably need to find that a little bit better. So if Bryan Kohberger is innocent, right? How did they get to Bryan Kohberger? And what I'm suggesting is that because of certain circumstances and certain people involved in the investigation that had their own interests in the investigation, aka Scott Green, involving himself with the 2-a-day war rooms, the interest in financial liabilities, the interest in not getting caught in having that house there locally, like all these things that could impact the college, right?
Yeah.
A lot of those things can be tracked as, you know, a linear step by step to a potential incorrect outcome.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And, you know, Cluminati just mentioned, have you seen the picture? I think that it's a picture that she's talking about, that Scott Green took at the Sigma Chi house like 5 days before all of this.
No, Scott Green took a picture.
He was there. He was there for something. I can't remember all the details. I think I remember it from one of Cluminati's videos, though.
The
and
Tin Hat team is gonna go crazy about that.
Well, I think she's been
planning.
I think she's been talking about it, though. I think she's made videos on it because I remember that. And I'm pretty sure.
I don't mean that offensively, though, either. You guys. Yeah. For those of you that know, when I say Tin Hat, I'm just talking about the more socially conspiracy-ish topics, right?
Right.
Okay. Goncalves and Mogen. Oh, I already covered that. Okay. At approximately 1:30 a.m., and isn't it interesting, real quick, that they gave the time of going there but not leaving?
Yeah, they just at the end of all this, they just they all were back home by 1:45 a.m.
Right.
So you have no idea where you know, Xana and Ethan and Bethany or even Dylan. We have the least amount of, you know, info on Dylan and where she was this day and this night. But yeah, you just don't know from 9 to 1:45 where Ethan and Xana were at all.
Yeah.
Like, you have no idea.
Yeah. It's interesting that this was also put in there that Ethan did not live there. Okay, but he also didn't live at Sigma Chi.
Yeah.
So where do
Well,
they claim his place of residence is?
See, that's why I think, okay, so to just bring some knowledge that I've collected is the 1 year anniversary. One of the fraternity brothers got up on stage and said that Ethan was planning on moving back into the Sigma Chi house.
Yeah.
Meaning he wasn't living at Sigma Chi.
Right.
And he was always at Xana's house. Like he was always staying with her. And his parents have even said that he was where he wanted to be and he was there most of the time.
Yeah.
So, I think he was pretty much living with her, and maybe it's because he was on, bad terms with the frat for a while or something. We know his grades weren't doing well. I don't know what it all means, but it's interesting.
Yeah, shout out to Mike Keys coming through here with a super chat. Poll was the naked guy with bushy eyebrows. Vote 1 for yes, 2 for no. And Marietta coming through with a gifted membership. You are awesome, and we appreciate you big time.
Was the naked guy bushy?
And and welcome.
So funny.
To the new Thought Rioter. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you so much, Marietta. And yeah, Cluminati, we actually pulled that up one stream. The fact that the 1122 King Road now says Bailey Apartments.
Yeah.
It's so weird, right? She said 3 houses from that block have been sold since the crime, though.
I mean, it makes sense. I understand it.
Are they going to turn that into more college housing and build a big apartment complex on there or something?
I don't know. It's interesting to consider, though. It's definitely interesting to consider. Okay, so Goncalves and Mogen. Okay, read that. The Grub Truck live stream video from their food truck. Right? Did I read that? Or did I not?
No, I don't think you've read that yet.
Okay. So at approximately 1:30 a.m., Goncalves and Mogen can be seen at the video at the local food vendor called The Grub Truck at 318 South Main Street in downtown Moscow. The Grub Truck live streams video from their food truck on the streaming platform Twitch, which is available for public viewing on their website. This video was captured by law enforcement. A private party reported that he had provided a ride to Goncalves and Mogen at approximately 1:56 a.m. from downtown Moscow in front of the Grub Truck to the King Road residence. DM and BF both made statements during interviews that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and asleep, or at least in their rooms by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Kernodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported this information. Okay. The DoorDash driver is still, right now, to this day, the most protected person in this case.
Yep. Even the rideshare driver that took them home that night, Kaylee and Maddie, has been outed. Or, I've heard people saying they got it wrong on purpose and stuff like that. But anyway, past that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they're the most. Nobody knows their identity. Nobody.
Agreed. Do you think the reason for that is because this driver is the time of death? This is their evidence for the TOD. Can this rideshare driver confirm that XanaKernodle got the food?
Handed it to her?
Yeah. Yep.
I thought it was said it was left on the front porch.
Evidence, wouldn't it be?
I thought it was said, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look into this.
Yeah, we need to look into that.
I thought it was said
details.
That it was left on the front porch and that somebody brought it in. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to rack my brain.
I remember hearing that too. There's just, you got to be very careful. And part of the reason that we're covering this case again in the way that we are and going all the way back to this document here is because so much information gets flooded in this case in this way that you've got to come back and reread a lot of these documents. It's too hard to track. between talking about the objective, actual factual evidence or the subjective, opinionated evidence. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
okay, so I'm just super curious who that person is. I am very curious, and what they are to the case, you know?
I wonder that too. What did they see? What do they know? They have to be a witness of some kind. They have to be. You don't think it being a company is why their identity is so protected, do you? The fact that they were working for DoorDash?
No, because when you're not actually working for DoorDash, you're subcontracted through them.
Okay.
So technically you are your own employer, subcontracted through DoorDash. So it wouldn't put any bad image on DoorDash or anything like that any worse than you know what, who is the driver murderer, the what's it called? ADHD moment here. What's one of the driving services?
Uber, Postmates?
No.
Or Uber?
No.
Wait, what? Driving services.
The Uber, it's not an Uber murderer, it's the other driving service.
Oh. Grub? No. There's Grubhub. There's so many.
Yeah, that's food related though. It's okay. It doesn't really matter.
I can't remember right now.
Yeah, the Lyft killer.
Oh,
Lyft
okay.
Killer.
Yeah.
Yes, you're
There
right.
you go.
You're right. Thank you, you guys. Thank you. I was having a total brain failure.
I couldn't remember either. I never use them. I only use it for food. Like my
Yeah.
mind instantly goes to all the food.
Okay, so I'm just curious. I want to know what that DoorDash driver knows.
I'm kind of hungry now.
Yeah, the only reason they keep that secret is because of it being used as evidence, as them being used as evidence.
So I did see somebody real quick before we get off the DoorDash driver. Kim in the chat said she thought it could be potentially, allegedly, Emma Bailey. And, you know, while there's not...
The DoorDash driver?
Yeah, while there's not...
Whoa,
well, she also drives a white car, which is interesting, a white sedan, white four-door sedan. What's interesting is that JLR actually went to that Jack in the Box and talked to the lady or somebody at the counter and asked who picked up that order that night. And she said it was a girl with brown hair.
No way.
Yeah. There's a video. If you go back in JLR's content, you can find that video. It's still there.
And that maybe it was her in that area where her parents live, right?
Yeah.
Right in that area. But so you know what's interesting is the
not
video.
saying it's true. Not saying it's true. That's all I know, and I know nothing. So
right. So you know what's interesting is have you guys ever watched a DoorDash driver and when they're trying to find the house or location or whatever, a lot of times there's a lot of 3-point turns and turnarounds, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of the video we have that night of a white 4-door sedan is a 3-point turn and turnaround. So,
right.
You know, are those things going to add up? Somebody left us a comment the other day and they were like, listen, this isn't a popular opinion, but I still to this day believe that Bryan Kohberger could be the DoorDash driver.
What?
Yeah.
You still think that's a possibility?
Me. Not me. Someone commented that.
Okay.
I have no idea. I wouldn't even know where to begin with trying to
that would be
finalize that opinion. I don't think that's the case, but could it be? I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
it could because you know, that could be also a way they tracked him and know he was there or something. And that could be why the alibi doesn't mention where he was at the time of the crime. They could be like, well, he dropped that off and went straight to Wawa Way Park and hung out there for hours, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. But I guess it could technically, theoretically be possible, though I don't think that's what happened.
I saw somebody say that the DoorDash driver's wife works for Moscow PD. You're confusing that with the girls driver. The sorority driver's wife works for Moscow PD. So, and I think they are talked about in here. Right?
Yeah. So, well, I don't know. So The driver that took Kaylee and Maddie home that night was a driver who did it specifically for the sororities to help them get home from bars and, you know, parties and stuff so that they wouldn't drive drunk. And it's his wife that worked for the police station, apparently. I can't remember his name right now, but the DoorDash driver is a completely separate thing. Completely. He wasn't the sorority driver guy wasn't even a part of a company. He was literally just doing it for no money and for no, like, there was no company. He was just doing it for the sorority.
Yeah.
Is what we've heard anyway.
Trust me, I felt so strange.
That's weird to me too.
I felt so strange about him.
I know I can't remember exactly, okay, the content creator who pointed this out right now, because who was it? You guys can shout it out in the chat. Somebody showed that it seemed there was a hesitation from him dropping the girls off, because the time he dropped them off and the time he passed in the Linda Lane footage or whatever that footage is over there, it was too long, meaning he hesitated leaving.
Okay.
So I don't know if that means anything.
I know what you're talking
He could have
about.
been texting. He could have been texting or something, but
for sure.
And seeing where, you know, the next people to pick up. So it doesn't necessarily mean that he was creeping. But I don't know. It's interesting, I guess.
It doesn't necessarily mean that, but I agree with you. It's interesting just because his position as the driver for sororities is weird.
Yeah.
That he is a middle-aged man that is only driving sorority girls, and it just feels strange, you guys. It feels really strange. What makes this weird middle-aged man any different than some other creep middle-aged man, if we're just being honest here, right? If you're looking at it from a pretty woman, young woman's perspective, and needing to be careful of all of her surroundings out there, I myself would just enter that situation like, okay, I mean, what makes you different than any other, you know?
Yeah, and look,
middle-aged man.
I agree with you. It's weird to me as well. But the Goncalves family has said that this driver supposedly was close to their family.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means, you guys. And I'm talking specifically about the sorority driver. That's what they claimed in their interview with Chronicles of Olivia. And I was like, what? That doesn't even make sense to me. But that's what they claim, that he was close to their family. I don't know what that means at all. But it's interesting. And yeah, I agree. It's really weird that he chooses to do that. Do I think that it's nice to have a driving service basically for free so you don't have to drunk drive? Yeah, but people don't usually put a lot of time into something like that unless there's some incentive for them. It's just odd. And I did see that Kim in the chat said that she asked the Jack in the Box kid herself, and he confirmed to her, but then she believes he was told to lie after that by somebody.
Okay. Well,
and not
sure.
tell people the truth. But yeah, that is interesting because that's the second person I've heard say that they talked to this kid and he claimed it was, you know, Emma, but I don't know. You guys make up your own minds.
So DM stated she originally went to sleep in her bedroom on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated that she awoke at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Goncalves playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Goncalves say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of records obtained from forensic downloads of Kernodle's phone showed this could also have been Kernodle, as her cellular phone indicated she was likely awake and using TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. DM stated she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about somebody being in the house. DM stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernodle's room. DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up distorted audio of what sounds like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernodle's bedroom. Dylan Mortensen stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking toward her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller. I don't remember that or taller bit. Male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male, that's such a weird... Not muscular, but athletically built.
She didn't even say if he was white or black or anything, like brown hair. Could you tell the color of the hair? It's just weird. The description is odd.
Yeah.
The fact that bushy eyebrows are the most detailed thing you could see.
Agreed. And here's the most odd part of this entire statement right here that we have brought huge questions towards. So the male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the backsliding glass door. DM locked herself in a room after seeing the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. Why? That is the single most important sentence in this entire account of the events of that night, is because in order to be in frozen shock, whether you're in frozen shock for 5 minutes, whether you're in it for 5 seconds, whether you're in it for 5 hours, you have to know something's wrong.
Yep.
And if you know something is wrong to the point where you would be in frozen shock, then you know to call 911.
So why didn't she?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is the single most important sentence in her entire statement, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, in the part that talks about her. And I did want to say real quick, and then we'll continue this conversation. We have a real life missing and truce in the chat saying they have a volunteer service that's free for their college students to get home safely. It's a service of people who either work or are involved with the college. It's completely different than the Lyft service that they have. So I think that is like a really good service to have. It's just never been confirmed whether he was a part of a volunteer service like that or if he was just doing it on his own free time and like telling these girls, hey, I'll give you a ride. Like, we don't know. And you know, it just, if that is the case,
to me, like I said, it just feels weird.
Yeah, but it could be totally something nice too. We just don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's just the optics look bad.
If he's involved in,
could he be a very nice person doing something that goes out of his way? Absolutely. And I am all for our world needing more nice people. We don't have enough nice people out there. And I am the first one to say that. But it doesn't change that the optics look bad. So it just does.
So from what I saw from Eric Gower, he also went to college. I don't remember exactly which college it was. It's either the U of I or WSU. And you just don't know what someone's been through. Like, did he lose a best friend from drunk driving? Is that why he volunteers his time to do something like this? You know, like, we don't know. So I do think there could be a totally innocent and nice reason for him doing that. He could be a part of a volunteer service.
I agree.
But why only the sororities then? Only sororities are worth your ride and time?
Yeah.
So why not all students? Why not be a part of that service for all the students? I don't know. Is it something the sorority, like, you know, made their own volunteer thing for their own sororities? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%.
It just seems a little odd, but that was nice to know. So thank you for sharing. And I agree that this is really odd. And it's also odd because you can't be in frozen shock phase for 8 hours. And she never called 911.
No, she never did.
She never did. It wasn't her. It was somebody else who grabbed one of their phones and called.
Yep.
So I've heard a lot of people try to explain this, explain how she could be in frozen shock and how it totally makes sense and all these things, but they just completely fail to talk about what matters. And that is that to be in frozen shock, like you said, she had to know something was wrong. She had to know that there was something happening that was life-threatening, that people were getting hurt, because you don't enter frozen shock state just because somebody walked through your house. This is a party
Agreed.
house.
Yeah.
You know how many times she's probably looked at her door and seen somebody walking past?
Yeah.
This is a party house.
Especially with some,
a house full of girls, having a young man walk by is totally normal for these girls, okay? So it's just, you had to know something was up.
I agree.
And to go back in your room and lock yourself in, knowing he's leaving too. That's what also doesn't make sense. She's claiming he's leaving, basically, that he's walking towards the backsliding glass door. So not only does she know something's wrong, she knows he's leaving, but she locks herself in her room and doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very strange. Very, very strange. I agree with you. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Okay. So DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard crying. Oh, we just read that part. Okay. Walk past. The combination of DM statements to law enforcement, reviews of forensic downloads of records from BF and DM's phone, and video of a suspect vehicle as described below leads investigators to believe the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team by using a presumptive blood test and then amino black, a protein stain that detects presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans-type shoe sole, just outside the door of DM's bedroom, located on the second floor. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel.
So Twizzle said, don't forget to count the cameras on page 8. Okay. I'll keep tally of the cameras.
Okay. As part of the investigation, an extensive search, commonly referred to in law enforcement as video canvas.
Hold on. So I meant to say something about the shoe print. So people have mentioned, like, wasn't the shoe print mentioned as a way to identify Bryan Kohberger? Well, they never mention a size. One thing I wonder is, did they mention this and not know the size of Bryan Kohberger's foot and already write up this PCA? Okay. And it's obviously a Van shoe print, which we know Bryan Kohberger didn't wear Vans.
Right.
At least from what we've seen from shoes confiscated from his apartment and his parents' house, there were no Vans. There was no skateboarding type shoes, actually. They were all sneakers. So it makes me wonder, did they put this in there, not knowing what type of shoes he wears, not knowing his size, but to just, and they didn't mention the size, to basically back up Dylan's statement that the killer was leaving towards the back door? Like, is that in there just to back up her statement? Because it's right after her statement.
I agree. And listen, we've talked about how the PCA and this document has been written specifically to create a narrative.
And what I'm saying basically is I don't think this shoe print means anything.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think it means nothing.
Well, I mean, it means something because of the importance of perception in a court case. And again, that's something I'll argue till I'm blue in the face, that perception has the highest value in a court case. I think it has more value than objective evidence. I think it has more value than expert testimony. I think it has more value than everything.
And yes, that's right. There were vans taken out of the home. We've seen it in pictures of what was taken out of this house.
Yeah, the 1122 home, not Bryan
Right.
Kohberger's
They weren't
home.
Kohbergers. They were the girls, from
Unless
what we
Bryan
know.
Kohberger left his vans there when he got naked and ran in front of Bethany Funk's window.
He was out there like, woo, look at my bushy eyebrows.
Yeah.
I got
Spooking.
lots of bushes, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
this is one thing that we did a bunch of research on too, everybody. So we did a video looking into what exactly a latent shoe print is and how they're created. And they can literally be created from friction. So it didn't have to be anything liquid. It didn't have to be anything that anybody stepped in. It could have been created by a fast walk, stepping down on that little 4-inch step and turning their foot as they're walking. That friction.
Look, because even though it says they did a presumptive blood test, they did not tell us the results of that. They did not say it tested positive for blood. They didn't say that. So could it have not been blood? And they're mentioning that blood test just to make us think it's blood, but it's not. You know what I mean? Are they mentioning this to make it seem like it's Kohberger, but it's not? It's not even his size. It's one of the girls' size. You know what I mean?
Which is the exact point and the exact thing that I always come back to. And I wish I always had this saved somewhere to pull it out when we're talking about these things. So I have no idea if Bryan Kohberger is innocent. I have no idea if he's guilty. But what I do know, and you all know, I say this all the time, is that the investigation is messed up. It is a giant silver platter of elephant-sized doo-doo and handed to Bill Thompson. That's what I believe. Look, and he could be innocent being railroaded. He could be guilty and be a mastermind.
Yeah.
I think either of those outcomes are very possible.
If he's guilty, he's absolutely a mastermind. But like
True.
This and a ninja, clearly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
that can fly.
Yeah. Like Willie was saying.
I mean,
that's what Willie said in the chat. He could fly.
I know that it's funny, but I do think there is a real way this could have been done within this time frame without getting caught and everything. I really do. I think Bryan Kohberger could be the guy, like objectively. Is it possible in a time frame that Bryan Kohberger could have done this crime? And I think yes. Otherwise, I would feel confident planting my flag in the pro burger lawn, and I don't.
Okay.
I think it would take somebody that has an obsessive nature to be able to, think this through and complete it within the said time. But I think it's possible.
I mean, that's part of the problem, though, because yes, he would be like a ninja, but I actually take back, he wouldn't be a mastermind because he was also very sloppy. If this was him, he failed to hide evidence that he is formally trained in.
Oh, the
phone.
Yeah.
The knife sheath.
Well, they don't have any phone evidence.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
don't.
You're right.
And it's funny that it's
the phone
connected
evidence
to this
sucks.
case.
The phone evidence sucks. Let's be real here. But like, why bring it at all? You know what I mean? Why didn't you leave it at home running? Like, why? My point is that he failed in some areas. If it were him and any of this is true, that doesn't make sense for somebody who knows what he knows.
Listen, I agree with you. Yeah. I think that's a very valid argument.
So he can't be a mastermind and make mistakes like that.
Yeah.
And I know people have said that's a logical fallacy. That doesn't make sense, you know, and have actually pointed me in direction of cases where there were people, you know, formally trained in criminal justice and other things who carried out crimes and made really stupid mistakes that are like,
well,
you know what? And they were trying to literally commit the perfect crime. I forget their names. I think it was Mike Applegate, who was in our chat at one time and pointed me to that case. And they made the most ridiculous mistakes when trying to carry out this perfect crime that was very, very well planned.
Yes. But if we're going down the possibility of Bryan Kohberger being guilty idea here, I think the only real evidence they have, the only real evidence that they have against him is that knife sheath.
I agree.
So could he have made a mistake? Everything else was perfect. He left his phone at Huawei and drove back here and made a mistake and will never. And I mean, he'll be put on a shooting line because of it.
Right. Look, if he was caught on,
is the best outcome.
If he was caught on camera, like solid caught on camera, I feel like we'd know about it. It'd be in the PCA, like very clearly stated. He was caught on camera. Like how clearly they stated he was on camera at Albertsons is how we would see them saying it about him being clearly caught on camera in the neighborhood.
Yeah, but what if the narrative is not what we think it is? What if he never drove close to the house? What if he parked down the street and ran, like we deduced would have been the best way to conduct this crime? I would have never drawn, if I was a homicidal maniac, okay, trying to do something like this, I would have never drove up anywhere remotely close. I would have probably parked a half a mile away because I know I can run a half a mile in a few minutes with a backpack on and done that. I wouldn't risk drawing a personal connection to myself in the crime scene. I think in one of the videos that we talked about where I gave a rundown of how I would have done this crime, I'm pretty sure that's what I said.
You did. That is exactly what you said.
It just doesn't make much sense. But I think that there's a very real possibility he could be guilty in that way and it be conducted in that way.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I saw Twizzle, who's in the chat, you guys, they drove out to Huawei Park and live in the area.
Been needing to cover that.
Yeah,
that
we do.
Video.
We do need to talk about it because it is good.
Show it.
Well, yeah, for sure. Well, Twizzle said that it's 100% impossible for him to drive to Huawei and do the crime. There's not enough time with this narrative, which is interesting.
Yeah, the only thing I wonder though is if it was submitted there before.
What do you mean?
Like he went and dropped off the phone, put it on a picture taking timer, and you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And did it before. So, do you believe there was enough?
A mistake is not circling a home 4 times before you go take 4 lives. That's not a mistake. Right. That's true. And you would think that he would also know, like, I'm going to be caught on camera. Like, there's cameras everywhere. You can't just circle a neighborhood in your car and expect nobody to catch you on camera.
Right.
Like, now, I guess I found out recently, like in Sebastian Rogers' case, that I guess some people have the crappiest security cameras I've ever seen in my life that, you know, are just black at night to where you, what is the point of having a security camera if it's black at night?
Yeah.
And you can't see anything. That's the one time you need to be able to see.
Right.
That's why security cameras have night vision. Yeah. So that makes 0 sense in that case or this case. Like, why is the footage? Look, it has to be terrible. And why is it so terrible?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with what Anne's been saying about the footage. She said it's all chopped up and the audio's missing.
Yeah.
And some of it. Not all of it.
Something smells funky.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got the latent shoe print. Forensic. Yep. Gotcha. And then we are. Okay.
Twizzle found a K-bar at Wawa Way.
Oh, geez.
That's not
as part
funny.
of the investigation. An extensive search, commonly referred to in law enforcement as a video canvas. I have so many questions around this. As a video canvas was conducted in the area of the King Road residence. This video canvas was to obtain any footage from the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. In the area of the King Road residence and surrounding neighborhoods in an effort to locate the suspect or suspect's vehicle traveling to or leaving from the King Road residence. This video canvas resulted in the collection of numerous surveillance videos in the area from both residential and business addresses. I have reviewed numerous videos that were collected and have had conversations with other MPD officers, ISP detectives, and FBI agents that are similarly reviewing footage that was obtained. The way they name drop MPD, ISP, FBI reminds me so much of the Dr. Moore case.
I agree.
They make it sound like that they are working as a single unit collectively. You know what I mean?
I agree. It does. Some of this reads just like Dr. Moore, honestly.
I know.
It's weird.
I know.
That's why the Dr. Moore case matters so much, is because Dr. Moore was also accused of circling the place like a shark and then going in for the kill.
Right.
But the footage was literally doctored.
Yep.
The timestamps, and it wasn't even his car in the footage.
Yep. I agree.
Like proven.
Yep.
It's not even a question. It's proven.
A review of camera footage indicated that a white sedan, hereafter suspect vehicle 1, was observed traveling westbound in the 700 block of Indian Hills Drive in Moscow at approximately 3:26 a.m. and westbound on Steiner Avenue at Idaho State Highway 95 in Moscow at approximately 3:28 a.m. On this video, it appears suspect vehicle 1 was not displaying a front license plate. Okay. A review of footage from multiple videos was obtained from the King Road neighborhood, showed multiple sightings of suspect vehicle 1 starting at 3:29 a.m. and ending at 4:20 a.m. These sightings show suspect vehicle 1 makes an initial 3 passes by the 1122 King Road residence and then leaves via Walenta Drive. Based off my experience as a patrol officer, this is a residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles that travel in the area during the early morning hours. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area.
How many cameras are we at?
Oh, did they say look at the cameras?
Yeah, we're supposed to be counting the cameras, right? Or only on page? Are we only supposed to do it on page 8? Or are we supposed to do it here too?
I think only page 8, right?
Review camera footage. Okay. So yeah, in the neighborhood. We're looking for in the neighborhood. That's on page 8. So we don't need that.
Suspect vehicle 1 can be seen entering the area a 4th time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52, and then driving back westbound on King Road.
So wait, it can be seen, but does it talk about a camera?
It does not.
So yeah,
upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area during this time frame. So they're talking about.
Hold on. Multiple videos obtained from the neighborhood showed multiple sightings. 3:29 ending at 4:20. I mean, there's no way to know how many cameras that is right there from that. Yeah, that happens constantly.
Yeah.
With all different kinds.
I get it.
So yeah, I don't know. Okay. Just keep going, I guess.
Okay.
Just keep going. Cause
Um,
do you want me to look it up?
what?
Do you want me to look something up real quick?
No,
Okay.
no. Hang on. Wait, where's my? There we go. Okay, okay. Yeah, I can fix that one. That's just not one I have in there. Okay, so where are we at? Based off my experience as a patrol officer, this residential neighborhood with a very limited number of vehicles that travel in the area during the early morning hours. Upon review of the video, there are only a few cars that enter and exit this area during this time frame. Suspect vehicle one can be seen entering the area a fourth time at approximately 4:04 a.m. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road, stopping and turning around in front of 500 Queen Road, number 52, and then driving back westbound on King Road. When suspect vehicle one is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. The vehicle then continued to the intersection of Queen Road and King Road, where it can be seen completing a 3-point turn and then driving eastbound again on Queen Road. Doesn't that sound like a food delivery driver?
Trying to find where they're going.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. And look, all the people have talked about being the DoorDash delivery driver have said all those people that people have thought it could be, they have white four-door sedans.
Yeah, because it's the most common.
I know, it is the most common car.
It is. It is.
Oh, yeah. So it can be seen entering the area a fourth time. So there's a camera that is catching it entering the area a fourth time. One. It can be seen driving eastbound on King Road.
Yeah.
Okay, so could that be a different camera? It sounds like there's a camera at the intersection of Queen and King Road because it catches it making a U-turn. It's catching it entering the area. And it talks about it stopping and turning around, driving back westbound on King Road. So it sounds like there's a camera at the intersection. And then there's also a camera like right by the home, right by 112 King Road, which we know there is because there's the 1112 King Road light bulb cam. So there's that camera and there's got to be one at the intersection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe multiple around that area.
Yeah, but the one thing I keep coming back to is this reminds me of a food delivery driver. And I agree with what you were saying. The reason why it reminds me of a food delivery driver is because they can't tell if this person is parking or doing a 3-point turn.
Yeah.
Because when you're a delivery driver and you're pulling up to your location, you're probably on your phone trying to make sure, trying to check, wait, is that the address? Is that the right one? Should I park right here? Is there different parking where I can pull up to? You know what I mean? Like you have so many options here that it would seem like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for anybody else that's going the wrong way and realize they went the wrong way, they wouldn't be looking for a potential place to park. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, so 1112 camera faces the intersection. Okay.
Yeah. Remember, we've looked at that before on the map. That's that blue house that almost looks like it's up on stilts or whatever. That it aims at that intersection right there.
It does?
So, yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I guess I forgot that.
So you were the one who figured that out.
I guess I forgot.
Suspect.
I forget things, okay?
Yeah, I do too. My name the most. Suspect vehicle one is seen next departing the area of the King Road residence at approximately 4:20 a.m. at a high rate of speed. Suspect vehicle one is next observed traveling southbound on Walenta Drive. based on my knowledge of the area and review of the camera footage in the neighborhood, that does not show suspect vehicle 1 during that time frame. I believe that suspect vehicle 1 likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive. Palouse River Drive is at the southern edge of Moscow and proceeds into Whitman County, Washington. Eventually, the road leads to Pullman, Washington. Pullman, Washington is approximately 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho. Interesting. We just covered earlier, Bryan said, of course, I know why I'm in here. I'm 10 miles away. We talked about that in the very beginning. Yep. 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho. Both Pullman and Moscow are small college towns, and people commonly travel back and forth between them. Now, what's interesting in this paragraph is that they are agreeing that there is another 4-door white sedan that they are claiming is not Bryan Kohberger's. They just muddied their own investigation in that way. Okay, not muddied, but I guess honest, honest mud.
So point that area out.
So based on my knowledge and review of the camera footage, that does not show suspect vehicle 1 during that time frame. I believe suspect vehicle 1 likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive. So I think what they're referencing here is that it shows another vehicle that they don't believe is his vehicle.
And they also mention that they
have 3 in the neighborhood of Elantras.
Yeah, and it's also mentioned in here that people were coming and going from this neighborhood. Yeah. Right? At the beginning of this part about the car,
yeah,
it was talking about how it is traveled quite a bit. Like people are going in and out.
Yeah, during that time in the early morning. How did it word it during that time in the early?
Oh, you can scroll up. Yeah, but yeah, they mentioned it that people were going in and out, that it wasn't just dead, like, which you wouldn't expect. Okay, this is college town. This is the weekend.
Of 2.
That's really interesting. 66% believe there wasn't enough time for this crime to be conducted. And it depends on what you mean by that. So for me, it depends on if you, and we did a poll. I'm talking about the poll results in the chat, you guys. If we're talking about just the actual killing, then yes, I think it could be done in that amount of time. Now, if we're talking about not tracking things with you, that's where I have a hard time.
What do you mean not tracking things with you?
Not taking
what you mean.
DNA to your car.
Okay.
Not bringing hair
and
fibers and DNA to your car. Not, getting it in your house. Like because according to the PCA, he left the home at a certain time, took a route, and it lines up perfectly with the time they claim he pulled back into Pullman, which means they're alleging he basically didn't go anywhere to hide anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what the whole trip, down south to Albertsons, I think they're trying to imply there that he was hiding things on that trip, because they talk about a time where his phone stopped connecting to the tower again. Interesting. Did he go back to Walloway Park the next day?
Right. I don't know. I'd
be curious to know, because it's also around the Blaine Tower when he goes offline for 2 hours again, or 3 hours.
I would be curious to know that too. I would love to know.
Did he travel towards Walloway?
Right. I would love to know his route of travel for at least the 3 or 4 days after this crime. I really would. I don't know if I believe that anything having to do with this crime could be in his car. I don't know how he would have done that without tracking anything anywhere at all. I don't know. I don't know.
So Willie in the chat said Xana's awake at 4:13. There's an audio disturbance on the camera at 4:17, yet he's down the road on camera at 4:20. What kind of Twilight Zone is this?
Yeah.
So she's awake. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
it is really quick, but I do think it's possible.
I don't know if we have 100% confirmation she's awake yet. So there's a couple different types of evidence in this case. There is evidence that the true crime community believes is common sense evidence. Like, you can look at it and you're like, well, of course that makes sense. You know, let's chalk it up as potential evidence. And then you have actual confirmed evidence that you get from the court or is verified and validated through supporting evidence like background application data and things of that nature. So I don't think that, in my opinion, the evidence that proves that the current evidence that proves that Xana was awake at that time and alive is not good enough for me to believe that she was without needing more.
Well, yeah, you got to see more information to know if it's typical of her. Was it replaying on one video for a long time?
Right.
Because that doesn't mean she was on her phone.
Right.
And I did see yes. So there is a guy who carefully unsuited. What was that guy's name again? Do you remember? That carefully unsuited and, you know, tried to prove how long it would take to like not. Do you remember that video?
Yeah, I do.
It was an older gentleman and it was a really good video.
It was a very good video that we covered on on one of our lives. We looked through his video and he zipped up and had a faux murder weapon and everything else, and, you know, disrobed, took everything off and tried to not cause cross contamination and put it in the bag, and it was super interesting. And then he walked you through how he would cover that in his car and things of that nature. So yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
What's that survey say? We have a new survey out, you guys. When this one ends, we will keep them coming. People like them.
Yeah, if you guys have a suggestion for a poll, you can always, you know, give a suggestion if you would like. Do you believe they have video footage of
the people that are trying to reduce visibility? So,
do you believe they have video footage of 2 4-door white sedans or more?
Yeah. Yeah, in the video footage, I think that we're going to see multiple white 4-door sedans.
Oh,
absolutely,
that's going to make this so confusing. And
agree.
I wonder if one's going to have a sunroof, and that's why the stock photos, one didn't and one did, because they weren't sure which one mattered.
Yeah, yeah.
How many of them didn't have front license plates? Did only one of them not have a front license plate? Could they not
see?
Can you not see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's no way there's only one white 4-door sedan in this area without a license plate. There has to be more than one. Okay?
Right. Okay. So moving right along here. Okay, let's see here. They're trying hard right now to reduce it. Okay. So let's see.
Oh, Santa didn't have a front license plate? I didn't know that.
That's all right. That's all marketing dollars, baby.
All right. Do you want me to read for a little bit?
You can if you want. I don't care.
What we're on this paragraph right now?
Yep. Law enforcement. Yes.
Law enforcement officers provided video footage. You're cutting me off. Just can you squeeze it in or something?
Let me just make sure we're good here. So yes, we are good. Yep.
Are we?
Yep. We're good.
Okay. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1 to forensic examiners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilize surveillance footage to identify the year, make, and model of an unknown vehicle that is observed by one or more cameras during the commission of a criminal offense. It's a really long explanation for that. You know, the FBI identifies cars. They have specialists. You know, The forensic examiner has approximately 35 years law enforcement experience with 12 years at the FBI. Interesting, they don't cite his experience in identifying vehicles, though. His specific training includes identifying unique characteristics of vehicles. Okay, here we go. I spoke too soon. And he uses a database that gives visual clues of vehicles across states to identify differences between vehicles. I mean, but they don't give the years how many years he was doing this. They just cite that he uses a database. Do you think, I'm so curious how that database works. I need to scroll. Will that work fine?
Yep.
Okay. If he's been doing this 35 years, though, I mean, it's a long time. After reviewing the numerous observances of Suspect Vehicle 1, the forensic examiner initially believed that Suspect Vehicle 1 was a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra. How do you say Hyundai?
Hyundai.
Hyundai?
Hyundai.
Upon further review, they indicated it could also be a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. As a result, investigators have been reviewing information on persons in possession of a vehicle that is a 2011 to 2016 white Hyundai Elantra. Investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University WSU campus located in Pullman, Washington. WSU maintains a series of surveillance cameras on and near its campus. A review of that video indicated that at approximately 2:44 a.m. on November 13, 2022, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Hyundai Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. You know what's interesting? It's never mentioned about, because, like, look, this crime scene was so close to University of Idaho's campus, yet he wasn't caught on any cameras.
I have wondered that from the very beginning.
Why don't they mention the University of Idaho's cameras? Why are the WSU's cameras the only ones mentioned?
I agree with you, and I have no clue. I don't understand it. I've wondered from the very beginning because, look, in a college town, and I have partied at a whole bunch of college towns, and they are always some of the most connected with electronics towns that I have been to. I'm talking about safety alarm alerts everywhere, all over the place. And, it doesn't make sense that you could go from one college town to another college town, conduct a crime of this nature, and not be able to be tracked from your initial drive point to the destination and back. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense. It's really strange that, they already don't have any reliable cell phone connection service, anything locally. And then on top of it, they don't have any of the normal technology that most colleges have.
Right.
What is going on?
Twizzle just mentioned that there are 4 cameras on Stadium Way and Main 270. And they don't mention these cameras in the PCA. He had to take a left towards Moscow.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to look at that on a map. I need to look at that on a map to understand, because obviously I've never been there and driven it. But that's interesting that they aren't mentioned. Okay. But it does say he was mentioned on cameras, like WSU cameras. So I don't know. It doesn't say like which camera at what time, but at approximately 2:53 a.m., a white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Hyundai Elantra known as Suspect Vehicle 1, was observed traveling southeast of Nevada Street in Pullman, Washington, towards SR 270. SR 270 connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. This camera footage from Pullman, Washington was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner. The forensic examiner identified the vehicle observed in Pullman, Washington as being a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Interesting. So when he reviewed the footage of the King Road neighborhood, he identified it as the earlier years, 2011 to 2013. But when he examined the Pullman, Washington cameras, it was Kohberger's car, a 2014 to 2016.
Yeah,
that is shady.
I know. I agree with you. It doesn't make much sense,
because obviously those cameras are much better quality. So it makes me feel like they changed the year of the car of what was seen in the neighborhood after they found this car. and Bryan Kohberger.
I agree with you. And huge shout out to Mikey coming through, hooking somebody up with a Thought Riot podcast membership. You are awesome. We appreciate you for that.
Look, I've been questioning. Yeah. And thank you so much, Mikey. We appreciate you.
Yes.
But I've been questioning, obviously, this, and we're asking a lot of questions right now, reading through this that we've been asking. Okay. And we're just taking a look back and going through this. But that's one thing I've been questioning for a long time is, did they make, the year fit? Like, did they actually examine the car and see, oh, this is this year? Or did they go back and change it and make it fit? Like, was there even a mistake made? Or was the expert right the first time?
Yeah, I've wondered from the beginning. Or again, like the poll that I just took that I find is one of the more interesting questions is, how many of these white four-door Hyundai Elantras do they have on camera? Are some of these cameras such bad quality that you can't tell if it's a Hyundai Elantra or it's a, I don't know, a Ford Focus or a white Tesla or whatever? Like, and looking at the Linda Lane footage, I tend to feel like there's going to be camera footage that you aren't going to be able to tell it's even a Hyundai.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting for sure. It doesn't make much sense. I think that what they did is look at this footage and say, oh, well, that's Bryan Kohberger's car. So this initial footage, we must be wrong here. So this must equal this. Therefore, and there goes the logical fallacy. Because this is true, this must be true. And even though the two,
because they both don't
connect,
have front license plates. They're both white sedans with no front license plate.
Right. Because this is a white car leaving this area and
an
driving
Elantra
in this general area.
They may even know it's an Elantra.
Therefore, this must be that vehicle. When they lost when they lost video evidence of him going from one location to the next, meaning he could have turned anywhere. Have you ever seen those videos? I got stuck on watching videos earlier or the other day where like the play of eye, right? So like somebody is taking a video of somebody and it looks like one person is walking through the video or the shot and another person's walking forward and they essentially disappear.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So a play of eyes. So when you're
illusion,
kind of like an illusion, but it's just the perception, the angle of the camera, the direction that this person is walking. That person just so happens to walk at a perfect angle right behind them that the camera doesn't catch them. Therefore, it looks like they just disappeared, Okay. When you're looking at evidence, I think that it's very easy to have a situation like that happen, especially when you're looking at the single most common car in all of America. The single most common car in all of America is a white four-door sedan.
Yep.
Interesting.
It is really interesting. So at approximately 5:25 a.m., a white sedan, which was consistent with description of suspect vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras in Pullman, Washington. Really interesting, because they are not this specific when it comes to the crime scene and the Moscow cameras. Why so specific in Pullman? And on WSU campus cameras. The first camera that recorded the white sedan was located at 1300 Johnson Road in Pullman. The white sedan was observed traveling northbound on Johnson Road. Okay, so there's 5 cameras. Okay, Johnson Road is the first one. Johnson Road leads directly back to West Palouse River Drive in Moscow, which intersects with Conestoga Drive. The white sedan was then observed turning north on Bishop Boulevard and northwest on SR 270 at approximately 5:27 a.m. The white Elantra was observed on cameras traveling Too far. Northbound on Stadium Way at Nevada Street, Stadium Way at Grimes Way, Stadium Drive at Wilson Road, and Stadium Way at Cougar Way. What? Okay, so he's crossing through all those intersections.
Yeah.
Does that mean that?
Image.
Wait.
It's so bad.
I know. Does that
Yeah.
mean there's cameras at each of those intersections that record and that they keep?
I mean, I hope so. Because if it's in here, I'm assuming that they have to be using this as evidence. They have to be.
Okay, so go down. Okay, so that's the depiction of the white Elandra.
Yep.
It's not to scale. Go down.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you even see the markings? Because I can't even see the markings.
No, I can't. I wonder if we have a better picture out there.
Yeah. Okay. Scroll down.
Yeah. We're going to have to pull that one off and highlight
Okay,
it.
so on November 25th, 2022, MPD asked area law enforcement agencies to be on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra in the area. Yeah.
We have a new poll again, by the way.
Yeah, a new poll. That was really weird, though. Like, why are they so detailed about the Pullman cameras? Okay, so be on the lookout for a white Hyundai Elantra in the area. On November 29th, 2022, at approximately 12:28 a.m., WSU police officer Daniel Tiango queried white Elantras registered at WSU. As a result of that query, he located a 2015 white Elantra with a Pennsylvania license plate LFZ 8649. This vehicle was registered to Bryan Kohberger, hereafter Kohberger, residing at 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment 201, Pullman, Washington. 1630 Northeast Valley Road is approximately 3/4 of a mile from the intersection of Stadium Way and Cougar Way. Last camera location that picked up the white Hyundai Elantra. Huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Scroll down.
Yep.
I gotta look at this on a map. Like,
I agree.
I don't know that I've ever looked at the route in Pullman. I've only tried to look at it in Moscow and on the way back to Pullman. Not his route supposedly on the way from Pullman before his phone turned off. Or when his phone turned off.
And
so,
isn't this pretty detailed for his route from Pullman, but his alibi says he's somewhere else?
Huh?
His alibi is saying he's somewhere else.
Yeah. So, Twizzle said the detail with the cameras was they say he was caught on 5 cameras after 525. They list 7 and missed Stadium in Maine 270, making it 8. Interesting.
8 cameras.
That is interesting. Thank you for that information.
Yes.
Okay. Again, I wanna track that on the map.
I hope we get to see the camera footage is what I hope.
Yeah.
You know?
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I want to see it too. Okay, so the same day at approximately 12:58 a.m., WSU officer Curtis Whitman was looking for white Hyundai Elantras and located a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra at 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman in the parking lot. 1630 Northeast Valley Road is an apartment complex that houses WSU students. Officer Whitman also ran the car and it returned to Kohberger with a Washington tag. I reviewed Kohberger's Washington state driver's license information and photograph. The license indicates that Kohberger is a white male with a height of 6 foot and weighs 185 pounds. Additionally, the photograph of Kohberger shows that he has bushy eyebrows. Kohberger's physical description is consistent with the description of the male DM saw inside the King Road residence on November 13th. Yeah, because he has bushy eyebrows. So This is one part that I've talked about before that I find, and just for going back over it real quick for people who
Which
haven't
part?
followed, but this is a part that I've had an issue with, in that it talks about somebody who queried white Elantras on November 29th
Okay.
and found basically Kohbergers. And then the same day, 30 minutes later, there's a guy out driving around looking for Hyundai Elantras, a totally different officer, and finds Kohbergers.
Yeah.
Like, it just is really strange to me. And like, and they're trying to act like they weren't on to him yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just, it's strange. Like, I feel like they had to be at this point, but whatever. So further, I scroll down, further investigation, including a review of Latah County Sheriff Deputy Corporal Duke's body cam and reports showed that on August 21st, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop that occurred in Moscow, Idaho, by Corporal Duke. At the time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a white 2015 Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ 8649, which was set to expire on November 30th, 2022. During the stop, which was recorded via a law enforcement body camera, Kohberger provided his phone number as 509-592-8458, hereafter the 8458 phone, as his cellular telephone number. Investigators conducted electronic database queries and learned that the 8458 phone is a number issued by AT&T. On October 14th, 2022, Bryan Kohberger was detained as part of a traffic stop by a WSU police officer. Upon review of the body cam and report of the stop, Kohberger was the sole occupant and was driving a white 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Pennsylvania plate LFZ 864 or -8649. So that's one, that first stop people have talked about in Moscow of him. I think that's the one where people talk about him being near the crime scene or something like that.
Yeah.
But at no point here does it say where he was. Does it say it in Paynes? Like what street he was on?
No. At the time, Kohberger, who was the sole occupant, was driving a 2015 Hyundai Elantra.
Yeah. It doesn't say where he was.
Stop, which was recorded via law enforcement body cam. Kohberger provided his phone number. Yep. No, it doesn't say exactly where he was.
I don't remember if it does in Paynes, though.
Yeah.
In Pullman, they know where he is. In Moscow, it might be him. Oh, huh. Okay. So on November 18th, 2022, according to Washington State licensing, Kohberger registered the 2015 white Hyundai Elantra with Washington and later received Washington plate CFB 8708. Prior to this time, the 2015 white Elantra was registered in Pennsylvania, which does not require a front license plate to be displayed. This was learned through communications with a Pennsylvania officer who is currently certified in the state of Pennsylvania. Based on my own experience and communications with Washington law enforcement, I know that Idaho and Washington require front and back license plates to be displayed. Investigators believe that Kohberger is still driving the 2015 white Elantra because his vehicle was captured on December 13th, 2022 by a license plate reader in Loma, Colorado. Information provided by a query to a database. Kohberger's Elantra was then queried on December 15th, 2022 by law enforcement in Hancock County, Indiana. Funny, because that's where he got pulled over. On December 16th, 2022, at approximately 2:26 p.m., surveillance video showed Kohberger's Elantra in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. The sole occupant of the vehicle was a white male whose description was consistent with Kohberger. Kohberger has family in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, learned through TLO, which is a search and locate tool database query used by law enforcement. Based on information provided on the WSU website, Kohberger is currently a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, pursuant to records provided by a member of the interview panel for Pullman Police Department. We learned that Kohberger's past education included undergraduate degrees in psychology and cloud-based forensics. Okay. These records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. Kohberger wrote in his essay he had interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. Kohberger also posted a Reddit survey which can be found by an open source internet search. The survey asked for participants to provide information to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decisions when committing decision making when committing a crime. As part of this investigation, law enforcement obtained search warrants to determine cellular devices that utilize cellular towers in close proximity to the King Road residence on November 13th, 2022, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. After determining that Kohberger was associated with both the 2015 white Elantra and the 8458 phone, investigators reviewed these search warrant returns. A query of the phone in these returns did not show the phone utilizing cellular tower resources in close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 and 5 a.m. Which, look, we've been talking about this forever. It's so weird, right? They look it up and they're like, well, he wasn't there. Must be him. Based on my training, experience, and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in the utilization of cellular telephone records as part of the investigations, individuals can either leave their phone at a different location before committing a crime or turn their phone off prior to going to a location to commit a crime. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cellular device associated with them was in a particular area when a crime was committed. So
ridiculous that, like, hey, we know he's guilty because he wasn't there. Because his phone was off, and they don't even say his phone was off. They just say it was not connected and communicating with the network.
Also,
Really funny.
One thing is also that.
Oh man!
So they mentioned his survey and his essay that he wrote when applying.
They do.
Was that? Why did they mention that? You think? That he applied for the Pullman Police Department.
I think because his past helps draw a picture of a sociopath, of a psychopath.
They knew it would portray that. Like, oh, this person came here trying to be, involved with law enforcement, but killed people.
Yeah.
So you think it's part of, like, do you think it was a nugget dropped for the public at all? Do you think it adds anything to the look? This is a probable cause. This is an affidavit for probable cause. Okay.
Yeah.
How does that add to probable cause?
I mean, it adds to his character. Look, I'll ask what people think. That does Bryan Kohberger's background assist in creating a sociopathic character?
Does it assist in obtaining probable cause?
Yeah, I get that, but you're asking the question if this was submitted as a nugget to the community. So were they not only simultaneously trying to get an arrest warrant, but painting a picture of who Bryan Kohberger was? That's what you just asked, right?
Well, I was asking how it assists them in getting probable cause.
I think that little piece has nothing to do with the probable cause. I don't think a judge would look at this and say, does his background support the likelihood that he could conduct a crime? No, the judge is looking at the objective evidence, his phone number, placing him in certain areas at certain times, how he got there, why he was there, and any of those details in between. I think that is what a judge is going to look at and or for.
I don't know. It seems weird to me. I've read quite a few PCAs, and that doesn't seem that normal, if I'm being honest.
What, the background?
That type of background. Yeah. It doesn't seem normal.
Wait. So Bryan Kohberger's background, or the fact that they're including his background?
That they're including it.
Okay. And that's a good question. I'll write that down to ask that. Is it strange?
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I guess maybe it depends on the case. Maybe it depends. I don't know. I'm just asking, how does it add to it? And I get it paints a picture. Like, I get what you're saying, that it helps paint a picture of who he is, but to obtain probable cause, that's not necessarily what you're doing. You're showing evidence to get probable cause. Painting a picture of someone's character is not evidence. That is fluff. Okay.
I agree with you. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I agree, Heather. I think they included this because it's always been a character assassination campaign. I agree.
And that's what I was asking. That's the reason why I'm asking, is because I'm curious if they had the foresight to think about the possibility of painting a character profile of who Bryan Kohberger was before he was in handcuffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
Really,
it's weird though.
It is. I think it's strange. I'm curious on this one, what everyone thinks. I just submitted another poll, you guys. We'll keep it up there for a minute. Is it strange law enforcement included Bryan Kohberger's background in this warrant? Yeah, I think it could. I think it feels strange. I do, because when we read that over 1,000-page arrest warrant for Rex Heuermann, they don't go into his background other than where he like the only background you see in there is like his office building, because that is actual evidence. His office provides evidence in connecting cellular data records.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's really strange. It's really odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I've never seen anything like that.
So we know, we have questioned.
It's just not real evidence.
It's not real evidence. We've questioned the local law enforcement here, and their ability and skill to be able to conduct an investigation at this level, at the need that was at this crime's standard of need, right? Now, taking that into account and feeling like they didn't have the experience to do that, did the law enforcement officers really have the experience to include a forethought or trying to control the narrative in this way prior to cuffs being on the suspect? Or does this add to the possibility that it could be a frame up? I guess. I don't know.
Maybe.
I just have such a hard time going there.
I get it. I do too. Sometimes my brain wants to go there. But I realize there's a lot that goes into something like that, you know, and
just the amount of people involved. Like, there is not a systematic like type conspiracy where hundreds of people are focused on the conviction of one random guy.
Well, look, I know frame ups happen. Okay. Like we all know that. We've seen them. The FBI is having to pay, what was it? $11.7 million to 4 men that they framed.
Yep.
So look, it happens. Like, and if it's happened before, it can absolutely happen again.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I don't think this is too far out of reality. And I hate when I hear people are like, well, why would they do that? Well, I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yeah.
Why did the FBI do it to those 4 men? Why would anyone ever do it? Okay. It's such a terrible thing to do. There is no good reason why. There is no good answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Why Kohberger? I don't know. Like, that doesn't mean it's not possible, though. Just because we don't know the why doesn't mean that it didn't happen and that it wouldn't happen. It can still happen. So while I see some red flags here that definitely take me there, I can't just commit to that.
Yeah, and you guys too, I should have said this a long time ago, but I haven't been reading the polls outright every time. So we have about 3,000 people on right now watching between the 8 different platforms that we're on. And the only chat that you're going to be able to interact with the Q&A and the polls that are going on is YouTube. Unfortunately, they are the only ones that give the accessibility or the tools to be able to offer these things. So if you want to engage in the polls that we are putting out on this topic, to include, you know, the viewer, the watcher, and everybody, you got to come over to youtube.com and search Thought Riot Podcast, youtube.com and search Thought Riot Podcast. So, and you'll be able to be included. Otherwise, I can read them, but it's not going to serve you guys, right? Because I think we only have like 500 people on YouTube, and 4 times that amount or 5 times that amount on other platforms. So we'll just keep popping them out on YouTube for you guys to be included, because YouTube has the most the most active chat too. So if you don't want to involve yourself in the chat, that's okay. Absolutely. We love having you hang out here and listen to us also. I just wanted to be able to let everybody know. So
yeah, for sure.
But yeah. All right, where are we at?
So
did you read this?
I don't know that I read all of it. Okay, so yeah, based on his experience, you know, criminals turn their phone off or leave it somewhere else to prior to going to the crime scene where they're going to commit the crime. This is done by subjects in an effort to avoid alerting law enforcement that a cellular device associated with them was in a particular area where a crime is committed. I also know that on numerous occasions, subjects will surveil an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime. Depending on the circumstances, this could be done a few days before or for several months prior to the commission of the crime. During these types of surveillance, it is possible that an individual would not leave their cellular phone at a separate location or turn it off since they do not plan to commit the offense on that particular day. It's just really interesting. That whole paragraph is just him going into ridiculousness, you know?
I agree.
It's also assumptive and it's not evidence again. Yeah. It's not evidence. It's all assumption. It's like based off my own opinion.
I agreed.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any room for that in my opinion. When you're looking into an investigation that somebody's life is on the line at the hands of 4 other victims, and we're like, hey, based on my experience, I believe this person did this in this way because of this. That's breaking 3 logical fallacies all at once. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That this is true because I have this experience, because I've learned this once, therefore this has to be true. Logical fallacy. Or this one thing is true because this person did this over here. We need to pull those up again and go through them. The logical fallacies are really good when you're looking into evidence of cases. It helps understand quite a bit, because I think it's just human conversation in nature.
You're right.
To talk in this way. So it's easy to receive it without thinking, wait, huh? That doesn't sound right. You know, you shouldn't be telling me that this person did this thing because I'm an expert. That's like saying, hey, you know, Malia can't be trusted because I can tell when someone's not trustworthy, because I'm a salesperson and am really good at reading people's faces, and I can tell she can't be trusted.
Based on your training and experience, you know, based off of, you know, me raising my right hand when I'm talking to you, that means I'm untrustworthy and lying.
Right. That's like the age-old looking up or looking to the left or whatever when you're talking to someone. If somebody's looking up and to the left or down and to the left, they're lying. No, get out of here. That's absurd. That's absurdity. No. Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. So,
and thank you, Cynthia. We appreciate you. So yeah, it's all very subjective. It's not real evidence. It's all it's weird. I don't understand why this is in the PCA either. He's literally speculating. Can you scroll down?
Yep.
Page 14. On December 23rd, 2022, Corporal Payne applied for and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th, 2022 at 12 a.m. and November 14th at 12 a.m. for the 8458 phone held by the phone provider AT&T approximately 24 hours preceding and following the times of the homicides. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to that search warrant, Corporal Payne received records for the 8458 phone from AT&T. These records indicated that the 8458 phone is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and the account has been open since June 23rd, 2022. The account has been open since June 23rd, 2022.
Yeah,
so
that year.
He literally just opened this account.
Just opened it. Which is one of the questions that we've brought up multiple times is there going to be some kind of other evidence on past phones? Is there going to be some kind of other evidence? Like, is it possible Bryan Kohberger had 2 cell phone accounts? Is it possible that Bryan Kohberger had, a burner phone? Like, are these things that we could maybe possibly find out? You know?
Yeah. What if his phone died that night and the way they know he's at Wawa Way with data is through an iPad or an old phone? Yeah. It could be like I've said this a million times. Bryan Kohberger could be guilty. It wouldn't connect to cell towers, but it would still connect to GPS towers, right? I agree. Yeah, 100%. And I've said it from the beginning. Bryan Kohberger could absolutely be guilty. He absolutely could, in my opinion. I totally believe that there is enough room here and the possibility that Bryan Kohberger could be guilty. Yeah, he could. I just know it can't be based off the mainstream media story. Yeah, now. He could be, but yeah, that's true, Twizzle. That's true too. But yeah, it could be I don't know. I was thinking something, but then I forgot it, of course. It's just weird that he just opened that account. Like, did his parents take him off of their account because he was and why, if he's moving across the country and he's a struggling student who can't afford anything, like, why take him off of the account? Right. Like, why did he get a local number? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Is that just when the contract ended or something and he could get a new phone and he decided to go on his own plan? He's moving across the country. He's just choosing to be more independent. Right. I don't know. Maybe this was like new era Kohberger, you know? Yeah. Maybe that was it. I don't know. Could be. So somebody asked, why would they list the burner for Rex Heuermann but not Kohberger? Like, why wouldn't we see the same evidence with Bryan Kohberger with the burner phone and his phone being in the same location at the same time and see that in the Rex Heuermann case? I mean, yeah, it's very possible. I don't know. Why aren't we seeing that in the Kohberger case? If he had a burner phone. I mean, you're asking me a question that we just don't have all the evidence yet. So do I think there could be a possibility if Bryan Kohberger had a burner phone? Sure. And maybe that's part of the evidence that they just don't have out here. And for whatever reason, they showed that evidence in the Rex Heuermann case. I don't know. Right. But do I think that could happen? Sure. I mean, we've seen it happen with the Rex Heuermann case, but the big difference is that the FBI was leading the Rex Heuermann, the Gilgo 4 case. And you guys make sure we have quite a few people on here too. Hit that subscribe button and turn your alerts on. We are live at the same time every day, 7 days a week. And if you want to make sure you get your alerts that when we're live, turn on those notifications to remind you on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. It's just, you would think that considering they got cell tower dumps, you would think they would have noticed a burner phone connecting to cell towers in the locations that they believe Kohberger is. And could it have been excluded from the PCA? Sure. Look, they are clearly not skilled at writing PCAs, and included a lot of subjective evidence. That just feels like evidence that should be included, obviously. I don't think he has a burner phone. I don't think there's anything to even indicate that, so I'm not gonna like take that and run with it or anything, but is it possible? I guess there's nothing indicating that. Okay, so where did I leave off? So it talks about them getting records, Payne getting records for the phone, and him just opening the account. After receiving this information, MPD consulted with an FBI special agent that is certified as a member of the Cellular Analysis Survey Team, CAST. Members of the CAST are certified with the FBI to provide expert testimony in the field of historical CSLI and are required to pass extensive training that includes both written and practical examinations prior to be certified with CAST, as well as the completion of yearly certification requirements. Okay. Interesting. He gives all of these credentials, yet a CAST agent didn't actually get him this information.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I'm just looking how many pages there are. Because how many we got to go through.
Yeah, it's pretty late, huh?
Yeah. Well, we might have to pick this up tomorrow. Do you
For
know
sure.
what we're on?
CAST.
Okay, so what, 14?
We'll just finish this page, yeah?
Okay. Where are you?
In the middle. Oh, wait, right there. No, right there. Additionally, the FBI CAST special agent that I consulted with has over 15 years of federal law enforcement experience, which includes 6 years with the FBI. From information provided by CAST, investigators were able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone from November 12th, 2022 to November 13th, 2022. The time period authorized by the court. Okay. On November 13, 2022, at approximately 2:42 a.m., the 8458 phone was utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201, Pullman, Washington, hereafter the Kohberger residence. At approximately 2:47 a.m., the 8458 phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage southeast of the Kohberger residence, consistent with the 8458 phone leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra. Approximately 2:47 a.m. Okay, yeah, I guess that's where it'll end. So,
yeah, I just gotta make sure I save these questions real quick here. Hang on, but
wait, you can't just screenshot them?
No.
Okay. What's interesting to me with the CAST again is that this is just a consultation, essentially. It's just Payne consulting with a CAST agent, and that's it.
Yeah.
And one thing that is important here, though, is that they mention, but this doesn't apply anywhere else, you guys. Because one thing that isn't mentioned by people who talk about this is, so yes, they are showing that the cameras and the cell phone tracking are lining up at this particular time. However, they then claim his phone turns off, and then they're tracking him south of Moscow after that. That's a totally different tower and coverage area. Totally different.
Right.
And I saw people, talking about this saying, well, they have cell tower coverage lining up with, video camera footage showing that's accurate.
Right.
No, it's a different area. If he was in the same area, then maybe you would have an argument. But the crime scene and him leaving and headed back, according to this PCA, he's not in the same area. So it's not the same coverage. So it's not the same accuracy.
Yeah.
It just doesn't apply.
Yeah, absolutely.
It says a lot of mainstream media and other people who have talked about this that believe Kohberger is guilty. Also, they mentioned the him going to Albertsons and how that footage and cell phone data is accurate. But if you look at cell phone maps of this area and the coverage, like the real ones that actually show you where the towers are covering, like we did in our cell analysis video, you'll see it's way different. It's vastly different. Pullman to Moscow to the Clarkston Lewiston area.
Yeah.
Super different. So I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. It's not very good evidence.
I agree with you. It's not very good evidence.
You need to prove that it is consistent in the other areas too, then, not just this area. It doesn't apply to all. So Brendan is saving all the questions you guys left in the Q&A so that we can go through them and answer them tomorrow. That'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
It just got a bit too late on us. You know, we just talk a lot. We just we could just be on here forever yapping, I swear.
Yeah.
Time goes by so fast.
Absolutely. All right, you guys, we appreciate you, all of you, every single one of you. How many do we have on here now? A lot. Okay. Wow. What? 2,467. We appreciate all of you. All of you. Thank you all for being avid Thought Rioters. And man, that's one thing I need to look at is some of those other platforms. There are people who have gifted us on there and they don't alert on here. Oh man, that makes me feel super bad. So if you're one of those people, I know I need to reach out to you, and I'm going to log into all of them either between today or tomorrow, and thank you for it. So we appreciate all of you for being here, for joining us on tonight's show of the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit those 3 stars. Make sure you hit those 5 stars. Make sure you leave a comment under the video and let us know what you think. Give us your input. Let us know if you want to cover another case. We are a viewer-led show, so what you want, you guys get. But it's not so often that we do an all Idaho 4 night, because this is already our main topic we're covering. So we cover everything. And we try and stay away from, or we try and pair Idaho 4 with at least other stories. But, we're going to be back here finishing this document tomorrow. Yes. And you're right. We know nothing. That is my number one saying that I love is I only know one thing in life, and that's that I know nothing. Exactly. And I understand what you're saying, Bailey. I understand.
Exactly, though.
But yes, we don't know anything. You're right.
We don't.
It's the reason why I am not pro Burger. I do not think that Bryan Kohberger is innocent. I do not think that Bryan Kohberger is guilty. I have no idea whatsoever. But we're going to keep looking. We're going to keep digging. We're going to continue figuring it out. So we appreciate all of you. Thank you for being awesome. And we will see you on the next one.
Yes. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks for being here.